You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. What a vacation. As so many of you all probably know, I'm back from vacation. I did a great, fabulous trip to Martha's Vineyard, which was very, very fabulous. It was a great time. Before I went to Martha's, I had a great time at another, M-worthy event. I went to go see Mamma Mia with my bestie, Dr. Parks. She loves musicals as well. And we've been wanting to go to a show that we both would like and was definitely fun and exciting. And we saw Mamma Mia at Kimmel, but we don't call it Kimmel no more. It's called Ensemble Arts. It's hard for me to say this, y'all. It's like when people started calling the gallery Fashion District. I've gotten used to calling it Fashion District, but I must admit I don't go as often. But I'm still calling it Kimmel. I know, it's not Kimmel. It's Ensemble Arts. Whatever that means. Because it used to be called Kimmel Cultural Campus, which was weird to me. They keep rebranding it, so it's Ensemble Arts. But Kimmel, y'all. So I saw Mamma Mia, the musical, which I've seen the movie with Meryl Streep and Pierce Brosnan, but I hadn't seen the actual show. Which the show and the movie are pretty much the same. Like the same, they did a really good job transitioning and adapting the musical into a screen, I would say. There are some songs in the musical that's not in the movie, but only a few songs. But most of the hits and the memorable parts and the order and the sequencing is really well. I enjoyed it. We both enjoyed it. It was a showstopper from beginning to end. It's just a really good feel-good musical. And for people that don't know what it's about, it is a classic. It's been out for years now. It's based off of ABBA, the iconic 70s group who made a lot of smashing hits that now live on into what we know now. But it's an incredible musical. How do I put this? Do I want to give it away? I don't want to tell too much. Because I know, okay, so it's a jukebox musical. So it's basically a musical that includes songs from other groups. It started 25 years ago. This year is actually the 25th anniversary of Mamma Mia. So they're on its 25th, I want to say it's its 25th anniversary. It premiered at the West End. First it premiered in London in April 29, in 1989. Oh my goodness, 1999. And then it premiered at the West End. It was a Broadway smash. It's to this day one of the longest running musicals in Broadway history. And it's iconic. It's not stopped. Like anytime you go to New York and you want to see Mamma Mia, it's classic. It is a classic musical. But yeah, it's gotten. When it was in Broadway, it's been doing its thing. A lot of Tony nominations, a lot of great buzz it received when it first came out. It hasn't stopped being on Broadway. It hasn't won any Tonys, interesting enough, but it was nominated for Best Musical, Best Book of a Musical, Best Actress in a Musical, Best Featured Actress in a Musical. But it's a classic. It's just have lived on because I think the ABBA music is what makes it poppin'. People really love ABBA, who is this incredible band that's still out here doing its thing. So it's pretty much, in a nutshell, a girl is getting married. And before she gets married, she wants to know who her father is. And she invites the men who she thinks might be her father. Emphasis on multiple men. And her mother doesn't know they're coming. And chaos, breaks loose in a very comical way. It's very funny, very lighthearted, very, sentimental, fun, sexy, spicy. It's just a good musical. So I always tell people it's one of what I call the converter musicals. What I mean by converter musicals is that if a person has never been exposed to Broadway, the easiest way to get them converted into Broadway is a few shows that I tell people to go watch. One is Chicago. If they've never been to a musical, Chicago is a universal crowd pleaser. Mamma Mia is an easy one. The Lion King, Wicked. I don't like Hamilton. Y'all know how I feel about Hamilton. I'm complicated about Hamilton. But Hamilton is another one, is a converter musical. There's several others, but those are the 5 that I feel like if you take people, first of all, they're still running. Like, these are not shows that are canceled. They're still running on Broadway. Like, you could take them to see anything. Like, Phantom and Opera is no longer running on Broadway. One of the longest running musicals of all time. Yeah, Phantom and Opera is not running. You have to catch it when you can catch it. But these are the ones that I always tell people, if you take them to go see this show, they're not gonna not like it. Mamma Mia, of course, if you can catch Mamma Mia, Wicked, Hamilton, The Lion King, Dreamgirls. Dreamgirls is also not running on Broadway a lot, but if you ever catch a Dreamgirls show, take people. Now, Dreamgirls for my Black folks. So if you Black and you like, I don't know how I feel about these other magical musicals, Dreamgirls is a really great converter. Another one I would say is The Temptations. So that's more modern. The Michael Jackson musical, a lot of people like Michael Jackson musical. The Tina Turner one is really good too. Tina, that's a good one. But these are more current ones. But like I always tell people, jukebox musicals or adaptations to famous popular films might be the easiest way to convert people into the Broadway canon. For me, I'm a little bit more of a classics girl. I like Gypsy. We got to go to the stuff that's really Broadway. Okay, I'm a Broadway snob. So I'm adaptations, I'm not crazy about them as much unless they're really good, like Mamma Mia or The Lion King. Those are good. Those are classics. But I'm like, I want straight Broadway, like stuff that has not been converted into a movie, or it started in Broadway. It's got a Broadway reputation before it became a movie. I don't care much for movies that then become Broadway musicals. I like original Broadway classics. If they turn into movies, whatever. But I'm Cabaret. I'm Chicago. I'm, like I said, I love Gypsy. I'm Funny Girl. I'm in that type of, musical-esque vibe. Some Andrew Lloyd Webber, some Stephen Schwartz. I'm in that world. Alan Menken. We just need the icons. Okay, we need the icons, because it's too many, Stephen Sondheimer, Into the Woods. Like, I need that. That's where I am. I'm a Sondheim girl. That's my Broadway experience. That's the stuff that gets me going. I've seen Into the Woods like 3 times. In each different versions, and it takes me away each time. But I'm Sondheim. I'm Company. Jamarcus and I went to go see Company a couple of, last year? I think we went to go see it. I'm a Stephen Sondheim girl. And I do like Andrew Lloyd Webber. He's like the Drake of Broadway musicals. Like, Sondheim is like the Babyface Edmonds of musicals, where he makes a lot of them, but they're good. And I feel like Andrew Lloyd Webber is like the Drake, where he's got hits, but they're like, And then, you got, which I'm not going to call him the Drake. He's more like I'm trying to think of a producer. Oh, this might be a little corny. I don't know if I want to throw this shot, but I think I might. So there's another person that's been putting out some musicals lately, and I try not to, Lin-Manuel Miranda, right? If you want to know who he reminds me of in the music industry, he would be like, and I don't want, and if you, I want to make sure I'm right about this. Jack Antonoff, he's like the Jack Antonoff of musicals. If you know who Jack Antonoff is, if you do not know who he is, don't look him up. But if you know who Jack Antonoff is and who he produces, Miranda, whatever, he is that. He is the Jack Antonoff of Broadway musicals. I said it. People gonna feel some type of way, but he is the Lin-Manuel Miranda of Broadway musicals. He is the Jack Antonoff of Broadway musicals. That's just my opinion. But I like Stephen Sondheim. I think his overall hits, he gave us Sweeney Todd, y'all. Like, come on. I mean, come on. Like Sweeney Todd, classic. Company, classic. He's just ugh, like he is that guy. Like I don't know. When I look at Into the Woods, iconic. A little night music, Sunday in the Park with George. Just Assassins, which I saw, which was really good. Merrily We Roll Again, along, which was a flop. That had a revival on Broadway with Daniel Radcliffe, which, Jonathan Groff, both won Tonys. We've been wanting Jonathan Groff to get a Tony forever. Finally got one, for his performance in Merrily We Roll Along. And then Assassins, another, in my opinion, a hit. Very much a very controversial show. It's about the presidential assassins, like people who've killed famous presidents or attempted presidents. They got to update it now, but it was a classic. But he's got musicals upon musicals, man. Like Passion is a classic, and Odie. But he's got some hits. He's got some hits that stick like grits, in my opinion. But I get why people like the other folks. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about, Roger and Hammersteins, which is more of the classic. They're like the Max. He's like the Max. Roger Hammerstein is like the Max Martin of. He's like the Max Martin of Broadway musicals. They just pop hits that stick like grits. I mean, Rogers and Hammerstein, Cinderella. You can't go wrong with that. You can't go wrong with that. But then you got Rogers and Hammerstein. They're classics. They're classics. Is it my, is it my favorite? I mean, it depends. But different musicals, different classics, different styles. That's all. But anyway, I love that show. So that was a day before I went to go see, go to Martha's Vineyard. So on the Vineyard was great. It's always this time around. I feel like the more I go, the more I have made the island my own. Last year was definitely a warm up. This year was definitely a stellar course. I really had a good time. And I feel like the more I go, the more I want to stay longer. So last year when I went on a Thursday. And so I did Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This year I did Wednesday. I did Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it was like 4 days. I think I'm going to bump it up to Tuesday next year. I think I'm going to go Tuesday. I think I'm going to do Tuesday next year. I'm going to do Tuesday till Sunday. I think I'm going to bump it up a day. I'm not sold on doing it till Monday, but I'm convinced I want to do a little longer. But it was a great time, nonetheless. It was a fabulous time. We really enjoyed it. We really did the local. Last year we was very much so Black Trojans of the Vineyard with USC, which we did this year. That's why I go all the time, because I love USC. Proud USC alum, graduate school. I did enjoy it. I definitely enjoyed it more this year than I did last year. Last year was great, but this year was even better because we knew the areas. So last year we stayed in Eggerstown, which was fun and cute and upscale. This year we stayed in Oak Bluffs, which was more livelier. It was definitely the black people are in Oak Bluffs for sure. I mean, that is the blackest part of the island. And it was definitely more lit. There was more shops, there were more restaurants, there was just more things that were different. We stayed in the Island Inn, which used to be Lola's, which was a Black-owned area, which is not too far from Spike Lee's house. Island Inn was dope. There was a place connected to it called No Man's, which was this lively bar concert spot. But Island Inn was awesome. They had all these nice beach homes. We got a lovely beach house that was better than what I imagined it was going to be. It exceeded my expectations. And Island Inn was very nice. Lots of Black folks, lots of great time. No Man's was a wonderful bar that was lively at night, morning, good food, reasonably priced. It was a nice time. The Martha's Vineyard, the Martha's Vineyard Black Authors Gathering was right under my beach house, which was dope. And it was just a really good time. The area we was at in Oak Bluffs was walkable. So we went to some really great classics, places that we was told about that we finally got a chance to go to, places we got to try out. There was this really great place called Jimmy's Pan Seafood, which was awesome. It's one of Bill Clinton's favorite places to eat. Fun fact. Um, so Bill Clinton likes this place, but it's a pan pasta spot, and they make the pasta like the best ingredients. I mean, it was some of the best pasta I've ever had in my life, and I'm not even bluffing. Like it was just incredible. It's called Jimmy C's Pan Pasta, and it was very. So what's funny was they have all they really serve is pasta, like different pasta dishes, seafood, no seafood, short rib, no short rib, and it was several great dishes. But we chose the ziti, which is really good. I mean, immaculate, very flavorful. The pan pasta was good enough for one that could be served can be shared with two people. It was enough for the two of us to eat it. And you get breadsticks and salad. But there were some people that got two pans. But they were just, I guess, super hungry because the pasta was definitely a thick pasta for sure. But it was really good. It was enough pasta for two people, but some people was eating two pans. I was like, maybe I want to get leftovers. And y'all know I'm not a leftover girl. We went to Backdoor Donuts, which is like ridiculously popular. The good thing is that Jimmy C's pan pasta. We went there for dinner. And then right across the street was Backdoor Donuts. So the moment Backdoor Donuts opened that night, we got right in the line and we had them right after we had the pan pasta. So they were next to us. We have to wait in line. But this is a popular donut spot that is like legendary. The donuts were good. I will say that. But you know how I feel about long lines. I don't really like lines. I always feel like, I mean, I'm just not a line girl. It's not who I am. I just feel like with lines, how do I say this? Okay. The donuts were great. They were good. Donuts are just good. They were good donuts. They were. No complaints. Mentally, if the line is super long, I don't think the line is worth waiting a long ass line. If you got some spare time and you chilling, you ain't got nothing else to do, okay, wait in the line, sure. But if I don't think anything's worth it. But that's me. I just don't like to wait in lines for anything. I just don't. I mean, the line we was in, we got in at a really good time where the line wasn't really that long. The line does go by fast because the donuts, they get all the donuts ready, and when they run out, they run out. So the line does go by fast. It's just that I just hate lines. The other thing about Martha's Vineyard was that this year we definitely did some different things. A lot of the great restaurants and legendary restaurants like Jimmy C's Pan Pasta, these places don't do reservations. And y'all know how I feel about reservations. I'm a reservation person. But what we did decide to do, and this is why we was able to make it fine, is that I said, when these places are open, what time they open? We're going to go when they open. Because I'm not going to do the 30-minute, 1 hour wait when we're on. So Jimmy C's pan pasta opened at, I want to say 5 or 6 o'clock. We was early. We got there, got seated. It was good because by the time we got our food served, which was around 45 minutes or whatever, all of a sudden the place is packed. And I would have not wanted to wait. So we had an early dinner, which was fine. And then after the dinner, we made it over to Backdoor Donuts, which opened at 7 that night. So we got there at a decent time and the line wasn't that long and we was able to do dinner and dessert. It was cute. But yeah, that was a thing that I had to brace myself. The beautiful thing is that we did a lot of outdoor activities. We did kayaking for the first time. Let me be very clear with you all. I said on my social media that kayaking was a terrifyingly lovely experience. I just want to say this. I know how to swim. If you do not know how to swim, do not go kayaking. Because I'm just keeping it 100. There were times Mr. Johnson and I did a boat where we was a double. So we didn't do solo because we did it together. And so we rowed together. We did it. We did it for about 2 hours, kayaking for 2 hours. We was going through ponds and lakes and all the things. It was cute. It was fun. But there were times where those currents and the wind was going away and it was like, this boat could tip over. I mean, we had life jackets on, all of that. But it is something that is not for the meek. Now, if you like water and adventure, it takes a lot of patience. Once we was in the groove, it was relaxing and fun, and it was cool. But it's just one of those things where you just got to be on. And I will tell you this. There were some people who clearly never kayaked before and just want to do something, They want to be cute. Let me tell you something. People was dropping rings and watches and shit. Do not, if you do kayaking for the first time, if you ever do it, Wear flip flops. Don't wear sneakers. Don't wear cute clothes. I mean, you can be cute, but wear some swimming trunks. Like it is a very wet experience. No matter how much, like it's a wet experience. The boat did not tip over. Nobody fell. The boat did not tip. No one drowned. None of that happened. But at the same time, when that paddle hits you in the back, water gonna slap. It's just gonna hit you. You just can't avoid water. So this is a watery activity. This is, stuff falls, slips. We didn't have our cell phones on us. The crazy part was I had a very like moment. So I have a Samsung watch, not an Apple watch, a Samsung watch. So I could take calls on my watch. This is the most, not that I'm flexing, but this is one of the most silliest moments ever. When we got closer to the shore, my phone rang on my watch. And I forgot that I had an interview with a Japanese publication. So I was kayaking on the Vineyard while I had a phone call doing an interview about Philly cheesesteaks with a Japanese publication. That just is a flex. If I ever do a memoir, I'm going to literally write that paragraph or that statement in my memoir. Who the fuck am I? I just had a moment where I was like, I was like, oh, are you good to talk? I said, yeah, I can talk for 5 minutes, like a brief little interview. It was a Japanese publication. They reached out to me to talk about Philly cheesesteaks, and it's going to be published in Japanese, which is kind of cool. And they were interviewing me. She's like, are you guys? I said, yeah, I'm kayaking. She's like, oh, where? I said, oh, I'm on a vineyard. I'm on Martha's Vineyard. She's like, oh, fancy. I'm like, I'm doing an interview on my phone, on my watch, while I'm kayaking on the vineyard, talking about cheesesteak with a Japanese publication. Who the fuck am I? I loved it. I said, oh my God, this is really real life. This is like not even, like this really happened. So while we're on our way to the shore, I'm doing this interview on my phone, on my watch, while I am like moving the fucking, moving the stick, just moving, like pelling through. And it worked out. The interview was fine. Everything was good. But it was just like, what is life? What is life? That shit was crazy. But no, kayaking was fun. You just gotta be prepared to get some water on you. If you don't know how to swim, I don't recommend it. Because there were times where I thought like, hey, if this happens, I gotta be ready to swim. But and if you want to people, my hair, don't do it. Don't even waste your time, child. Don't even do it. Come there with protective styles, come there braided, come there ready. But like it is a good time. It was very fun. It was romantic. It was cute. It was a good time. I did enjoy it. I once I got into the groove, once we was in there for about 30 minutes and we got into the flow, it was fun. It was very fun, I will say. We got into some coves and there was like what was it? A mussel bed, like mussel shells that were poisonous. We couldn't eat the mussels, of course. And then there was an oyster bed on the other side of the lake. But we were just going through it, just pedaling our way through. So it was nice. That was nice. We went on our annual cruise. We was, with the USC Trojans on a yacht. It was a yacht party. Very fun. Until we got splashed. But it was fun. We was on the yacht. We was drinking. We was vibing. That was fun. I love a good boat party. A good one with some people. A real yacht too. Like it was indoors, outdoors, bathrooms, upstairs. It was a vibe. That was definitely a highlight. We had this really good dinner. We was in some really, oh my God, there was somebody had a mansion. Some alum we knew had a mansion with a whiskey tasting, and we had a private chef, and they did a catering, and they had an infinity pool, and that was one of the nicest houses I've ever been to. Okay, that house was decked out, and it was a dinner. We had a dinner for USC alum at this house, and we had a dinner. Okay, that was a good time. What else? We did so many things. Oh, we had a wine, a vineyard. It was a black vineyard. It was called Sonoma on the Vineyard. No, Souls of Sonoma, which is this black wine company. They're a black company that support black winemakers. And it was a whole like 6-course dinner that was from land to sea. We had duck, and y'all know how I love duck. We had duck, we had shrimp, we had so many things. We had land and sea. It was so much stuff we had. I remember the duck. I remember the shrimp. We had the oysters. Like a seafood situation. We had filet mignon. We had a steak. We had a rum cake for dessert. It was really good. It was a bunch of different courses. I just remember it was a bunch of courses we had. And it was very seasonal. It was like a wine pairing to go with each of the different dishes. But it was well done. And it was all black wine purveyors and all of that. And that was really fun. That was like our final dinner we had. And then, oh, my barber. He had a beach house. He owns a lot of property. Nice guy. He's always at the Vineyard. He wanted to see us. And it was nice. We was with his family. He had like all these like after parties at his place. Really good. They were grilling. So we had like the nice backyard grill vineyard experience. Lots of seafood. He was so happy because he fishes a lot on Cape Cod. So he had these big ass fish that he wanted to impress us with. So all the fish he had, and I mean, this is old school vineyard child. He'd been going to vineyard for like 30 something years. So he had all this fish in his storage, and he grilled the fish, and it was incredible. It was great. And then we went to a shop. Oh my God, we went to the Black Dog, which is fabulous. I came back with more Black Dog stuff than I needed to. I always get things. It's just a memento. So I had martini glasses this year. Last year I got a big ass picture. I always get t-shirts. And we went to a place called C'est La Vie, which is this black-owned shop that makes really good vineyard stuff. And one of my barber's daughters, who's an AKA, got me this alpha sweater from C'est La Vie that is really nice. It had Martha's Vineyard. I said, my Black Elite credit score went up like 5,000. And I'm joking, by the way, for those who don't get humor. I'm joking. But my credit score must have went up. I said, not only did you get me an alpha sweatshirt, but you got me a Martha's Vineyard labeled one. Oh my goodness, the credit score is going up. I am doing the most. All of my bougie affinity crystals have been matched. You can't tell me shit now. Okay, first of all, the people at the Vineyard is interesting. It's interesting. You got to know your crowd. I will say I definitely enjoyed it more. I know my crowd. I know the people I want to be around, and I know the people I don't want to be around. But it's a very interesting mix. I think what I like the most about it is that if you go with people that are just folks that just want to have a good time and relax and vacation, it's fun. It's annoying when you meet what I call the super networkers. They always want to network. They don't know when to turn the fuck off. Those are the worst people. And so I really enjoyed this year because I was very intentional about hanging out in situations and spaces that was focused on vacation. I really did not want to do any work. I didn't do really any work while I was there. I mean, I checked a couple of emails at night, but like I really vacationed. Like I really enjoyed myself because we had an itinerary. I like plans and a couple of little fun pop-ups is not that bad. But I like an itinerary and I like plans. And so it was a very nice time. Again, these are islands that you can go to, people, where you don't have to go all the way to Cancun. But I get it. But I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed my time. I really enjoyed it. And I cannot wait till next year. I feel like this is a thing. We're going to be regulars. I feel like every second, first week of August, first full week of August. Don't ask me what I'm doing. I'm going to be at the Vineyard. Meet me there, catch me there, see me there. I'm just going to make it my thing. I feel like I found my groove. Like every summer I go to Atlantic City. I just feel like Atlantic City is always popping in the summer. I'm going to be in somebody's hotel, somebody's resort in Atlantic City. And I'm always going to be at Martha's Vineyard. Like, those are my guarantees. My first week of August, I'm at the Vineyard. Don't even ask me. Don't even plan me for anything. Don't even invite me. Don't call me. I'm not going to be there. I am going to be at the Vineyard. And I think I'm going to be at Oak Bluffs. Eggerstown was dope. We went to Mad Martha's ice cream spot. That was cute. I do like me some Eggerstown, but I really do think Island Inn is going to be my spot. If I can get into Island Inn next year, which I probably am, because I'm just going to start booking, I'm going to book next year. I'm booking, for the Vineyard already next week. I'm already in my mind. FYI, if you're a person that's interested in going to Martha's Vineyard, and if you want to have this great experience, I highly recommend that you start booking between now and December. After December, it gets hard to find places, or the cost to book a place or a spot gets crazy. If you're Black, I highly recommend Oak Bluffs. If you're not Black, go to Eggerstown where you belong. I'm joking. You can go to Oak Bluffs too, but diversity. But no, I recommend Oak Bluffs to my melanated folks. Just because of the shops, the diversity, the food, and everything else. I was in Oak Bluffs. I was in Eggerstown last year. Was very upscale, very nice. It's the Chestnut Hill of the Vineyard. But it definitely in retrospect, now that I see what's on the other side, I do feel like you do have to travel further to get to those other things. And so a lot of the fun stuff that is iconic to me about Martha's Vineyard, a lot of it is in Oak Bluffs. So I recommend Oak Bluffs, but if you got to go to Eggerstown, it is what it is. If you're in Tisdale, which is a little far, see, let me tell you something. Vineyard Haven, Tisdale, right? If you out there, this is all Martha's Vineyard, by the way, this island, but there's certain areas. That's for what I call my booty call travelers. Last minute people who came to the vineyard the last minute, couldn't find nowhere. They got to go to Tisdale. They got to go to Vineyard Haven. But folks is really trying to make this a real vacation trip. I highly recommend Oak Bluffs. Eggerstown, second place. And let me tell you right now about Martha's Vineyard. Because of this location, this area, this is not a place that you spend 2 days at. Don't come if you're going to do 2 days. It's not worth it. You need to spend at least 3 or more days here. 3 at the very, very minimum. I actually recommend more days, but if budget constraints, 3 days minimum. And after that, go high. So next year, I want to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I leave Sunday. So that's about 5 to 6 days. I just really love it that much, and I really enjoy it, and I really want to do more. But I would tell people, if you want to go, a lot of you all DM'd me and was asking about the experience. I would recommend 3 days minimum. I preferably more, but 3 days minimum. If you do 2 days, it's just not worth it. Because you're going to spend the first day selling, traveling, adjusting. And then the second day, you're going to be fully into it. But then you got to go. Like, that's the point. That's pointless. I would say 3 days minimum. Even 3 days is a little too short. But I feel like you can do something with 3 days. Like, I did 3 days before. I would say 3 days minimum. But after that, I would say more if you can. So for me, I'm not fully convinced to do a week. Because I just work, I just do so much that I'm just scared to go anywhere for a full week. But I'm leaning into a week. Right now, I'm at 6 days. But I feel like the older I get, I'm definitely going to do more. I can see myself definitely doing more days down the road. But I'm going to do 6 days next year. I did 5 days this year and loved it down. Really felt like I had a full vacation. Really enjoyed like making that beach house my own. I would definitely stay at Island Inn again. If I don't stay at Island Inn, I'm definitely going to stay in Oak Bluffs for sure in that area. But I really enjoyed it. Mr. Johnson really enjoyed it. It was a romantic time. It was so romantic. Oh, it was so fun. Thinking out loud, I just really loved it. I really like Martha's Vineyard. I can't get enough of it. I know y'all like, wow, you really liked it, yo, because you're really talking about it. I really did. It was relaxing. I think it was relaxing at the time in which I left. Maybe that's what it was. I feel like every time I choose to go on a vacation or do an escape, it's always at like the right time. Like the timing could never be better. I don't know. It's just, I didn't foresee myself, like the time in which I need to get out of the city and just get out, just relax. It was the perfect timing. So I'm really revitalized. I will say that. So yeah, that's my vacation. That's what I've been up to. Vacation, ate well, looking good apparently. Y'all can't, I mean, when I came, well, my goodness. Everyone's been talking about me. They're like, oh, you've been shrinking. We're going to talk about this for a couple of minutes. I'm not going to spend too much time talking because I don't, it's just really like, so people are like, oh, you've been slimming down. You've been losing weight. Yeah. Yes, I've been losing weight. I've been slimming down. Okay. The reason why I say this, because I'm very big on body positivity. Everybody has their own journey. Everybody do what they do. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh yeah, I'm snatched and y'all got to get like me. I'm not like that. I've made some decisions, doing some things. I wanted, I wanted to wear certain clothes. I just wanted to for myself, I just wanted to return back to myself in a certain way. I would just say that. I don't like fat phobia. I don't like conversation on dieting because I'm not dieting. Let me be very clear. I don't do diets. I don't do diets. For me, I'm just a moderation girl. I'm just somebody who's just being more conscious about why I'm eating and how I'm eating. I recognize that when I first started at Eater Philly and for the past couple of years, the past like 2 or 3 years, I was going out to a lot of events and, I see it, I wanted it, I grabbed it, I ate it. Okay. And in due time, it showed, and it was definitely, doing that. And I just got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm overeating. That's what it was for me. For me, I recognized I was overeating. because I just couldn't say no to things. And I just liked it. I just was doing the most. And that was just me. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, I want to slow down for myself. I need to cut back, and I need to just, you know, understand what I'm doing. Like what my relationship to food is. And just simply just making those conscious decisions and just, you know, not stress eating or just eating just cause, and just doing some things in moderation. It was quick for me. It was just dropping for me, and also going through a process this spring definitely helped upstart that change. If you Greek, if you don't ask. But like for me, it was just a situation of just this, like, looking at my relationship with food and just recognizing certain things. Because as I began to go out, I was like, one of the things I would do was I would go to events, I would eat dinner, I was always snacking, I was just always just doing a lot. And sometimes we just don't realize how much we're overeating. Like just eating. And so I was just in a position of life where food was just in front of me and I wasn't gonna not, and so that's just what was happening. I was just like, I would see stuff around, just like, I like that, I like that, I like that, I like that. And I would just boom, 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 boom. And then I would go to a dinner. And then I would go to a tasting. And I would go to this. And I would go to that. And you're just not paying attention. And you just look and you're like, oh, wow, this is okay. Oh, wow. And so for me, it was just a moment where I was like, okay, how did I get here? How did I get to this point for myself? And I just also felt like it was like, what is happening? So for me, it was just like, okay, I need to moderate. I need to chill out. Let me. I think for me, it was just like looking at the things I was wearing. Like I was like, wow, I'm making adjustments to my attire. I have to now there's things that I used to wear that I can't wear anymore. And I was like, okay. And I had that moment with myself, like at the end of last year. And I was like, okay, I'm making a lot of adjustments. Okay, what am I doing? What's happening? And when I started to take that moment of reflection of like what was happening, then that's when I started to make those changes. And it just 45 pounds. I lost 45 pounds since January. Lost 45 pounds since January. And, I feel really good. I feel good. And, just self-discipline, and everybody's different. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm just talking about my experience and decisions for me. I'm not trying to tell people what to do. I'm not that person. I'm not. And that's why I didn't want to discuss it, but people just kept talking about it. And I was like, before y'all start with y'all rumors and the gossip and the tabloids, no injections over here, no shade for people, no disrespect for people that gotta do what they gotta do. I am not judging folks. If you gotta do what you gotta do for you, you gotta do what you do. I didn't do anything like that for myself. It just was a moment of me just shaking my head and saying no. That's just what it was for me. Just slowing myself down. That's what it worked for me. Everybody's different. Whatever you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said with Oprah, when I was saying people talk about Oprah and Ozempic and stuff, Oprah had to do what she had to do. We don't know Oprah's experiences and dietary needs. Whatever the case is, whatever you got to do for you to do what you got to do to get yourself for whatever you want to do, choices. If you want to do lipo, if you want to do a tummy tuck, you do what you want to do with your body and be safe. So this is a no judge free zone, But for myself, it was nothing like that. I didn't do any procedures, any medication, anything like that. It was just a matter of me just telling myself, pump the brakes on certain things. And everybody's different. Some people stop drinking and drop weight. Now, I still drink. I ain't going to hold you. I like to drink. But but you got to put something down. Like, you can't have all the vices. You know what I'm saying? So I always tell people, if you're going to do one thing, you got to put something down. So for me, I don't eat super late as often. Like, I try not to. Back in the day, I was an Uber Eats late night girl. I want to get me a cheat. I used to do it. Now I don't really do too much late night eating too much. I try not to do that as much if I can. But if I'm gonna do that, okay, I'm still gonna have my glass of wine though. So I pick up my vices. So let me be clear. I'm not out here trying to be this don't do this, don't do that. I'm not wagging my finger. For me, it was just moderation. Because I know it's a lot of you all were in the comments and y'all be in the DMs like, oh my goodness, you're losing weight. And it was crazy is that people will go like, which is why I don't do anything for vanity for people. Because you listen, when you gain weight, people be like, oh, you're getting heavy, you all right, you better slow down. But then when you lose weight and they don't know what to say, they'll be like, are you okay? What's going on? It's like, goddamn. Well, no, I am healthy. I am fine. I have no issues or anything like that. It's not drugs, not anything like this, not crack. But also, like, I'm fine. But also, people's journeys are their journeys. And so I really was not trying to I just wanted to just do me. But I guess when it's noticeable in a way, people just can't help but say something. So I guess the cat's out the bag for the past 8 months and counting. I'm just doing me. I'm just slimming, doing me, working, doing me. Yes, the doll is, putting in that work. Okay. The doll is putting in that work. That's for me. But listen, however size, shape you are, whatever you are, I like me on all levels. I like me when I'm thick. I like me when I'm slim thick. I like me when I'm slim fast. I like me when I'm with ass. I like me on all levels and shapes and sizes of myself. Let me be very clear. I clearly, hello, because I've been with the same man for 10 years. So he has had I have had what I would call Oprah body, where I went through phases of where I was skinny, and then I had moments where I got thicker, and now I'm definitely on my slimmer era right now, I suppose. But I've gone through all the eras. Okay, I've had all the eras. I've had me in a medium, and then me in XXL, and now I'm in a large, which is wild. Recently, I'm like, I have not let it go. My clothes have gotten a little bagger. I have not convince myself that I can be wearing large again. Because for a while, for a period, was getting XX. And I was like, okay, this is too much. Then, let me be clear, I never need to fit an XX. It's just that because I'm tall and have shoulders, I need an XX to fit my shoulders with the weight. Then, for a period of time, I've been doing XL, but now I'm at a point where I can really do a large now. But I'm so scared to do large. I bought a t-shirt recently with a large. I was like, oh, wow. I can wear this and it's fine. If I want to be naughty, I could do a medium, but that's just ridiculous. I'm not doing a medium. So I'm now at a large. I'm now wearing large in shirts. Still going to wear XL because I'm a brother. I still want to have a little bit of room, but I can comfortably fit between an XL and a large. So if I ever go clothes shopping and they don't have an XL, I'm going to get a large. And I've seen some clothes where they've run out of XLs, but they still have larges. And I'm like, okay, I can get that shirt in a large because I can fit it comfortably. But I just mentally still feel like an XL is my size, but I can comfortably do a large. So just observing, it's been interesting, adapting and adjusting. But I definitely have a lot of energy, more energy than I thought I needed. And I don't drink coffee, so I never was a coffee person anyway. But I am definitely feeling the gains. And, I'm just doing me. And it's not, I don't care about what people think about the look. I didn't give a fuck what y'all thought when I was 45 pounds heavier a couple of months ago. Don't give a fuck what you think 45 pounds less. Because it's my choice. It's what I'm doing for me. And and it's really weird when you hear some people give compliments because it's like these compliments are backhanded. And I'm just like, don't do that. Because I do think about that. Like, I do think, like, it's not nice, right? People say, oh, you good. Like, so a bitch didn't look good before? Let me tell you something. Get it right. Or just don't say anything. Just keep it moving. But I am think about body conscious, about people talk about people's bodies, like whether they gain weight. Because I remember when I was gaining weight for a period of time, people definitely said things. It was just so not nice. But now the girl's gotten slim, and now the girls look at me like, oh, well, you're okay. You were like, really, like, ugh, people just a mess. But do it for you. Do what you want to do for you. If you want to gain weight, if you want to get thick, if you don't give a fuck, do you. Okay, seriously, do you. So yeah, I'm cute, being cute. If I turn around next year and throw 20 pounds on, still fine, still fabulous. Like, it's just what I want to do, how I want to feel comfortable. And I think when you have that type of body confidence with yourself and whatever era and phase you're going through, do it for you. Do what makes sense for you and your health and for your body. And that's it. No explanations really required. I didn't really owe nobody an explanation, but the Libra in me and the journalist in me just can't help but to give you all news. We all don't always deserve it, but I just rather do that than create confusion. And it's the life of a public figure. Because to be honest, regular people, y'all don't know nobody's shit. But sometimes when you're a public figure, the girls will start talking and come up with their own excuses and their own theories. And so you just gotta sometimes just kind of nut the rumors out the bud. Ah, the things. But anyway, looking good. I'm feeling good. And yeah, that's it. So, to the news, because it has been quite the day. It's so many things going on, that I just have so many thoughts about. A lot of you all been waiting, waiting to hear my thoughts about what's been going on. There's been, a lot, and this VP pick, I'm excited. I'm happy. It feels like, it doesn't feel like a week ago. It's been less than a week since Tim Walz has been Vice President Kamala Harris's VP pick. But I'm still shocked. Like, she did it, y'all. She really did it. And, it was looking like Shapiro. And I'll tell you why. Because if this was any other era, and if Kamala Harris was a man, a guy like Josh Shapiro would have been her VP pick. Conventional Democratic wisdom goes in the favor of a guy like Josh Shapiro more than a Tim Walz. But this is unprecedented times. And so unprecedented decisions were made. A lot of people talked about how I literally broke down the logic of why Shapiro should have not been the pick. Even though in the end, I did sense that the Democrats was not going to have the backbone. And let me be clear. I don't think the Democrats had the backbone. Let me be clear. It's a different era. Everything is different about all of this moment, right? And so everybody who's covering politics do have to readjust their clock a little bit because everything about this election has been bonkers. I don't recall somebody in the middle of a presidential race just dropping out. Okay? This is just unprecedented. They might say they're not running, before elections start, but in the middle of election, I don't recall such chaos since the 70s when we saw all that chaos at the Democratic National Convention. Like, we haven't seen this in nearly 50 years. This is a wild moment right now that we're seeing in American politics. So everything about this moment spells it, right? But logically, I was right. Logically, it did not make sense for Shapiro to get this seat. And I remember the second to last episode that I did, I think it was a season premiere. I talked about why this man was not it. It should never have been Shapiro. And for the reasons, we're finding out now why it's not Shapiro. And it makes so much sense why it's not Shapiro and why it shouldn't be Shapiro. And so we're at an interesting time right now where I'm happy it's not him. A lot has come out. Conversations about ambition. There was a lot of people that read him as being super ambitious. Apparently Fetterman's concerns really did matter to the campaign. Apparently him overstepping her, that video apparently played a role, allegedly, that the Sherelle Parker video, the one that leaked and all that, the way that video rolled out, that just was very heavy-handed. And I did say on the podcast, I did feel like the Philadelphia Democratic establishment really did play their hand a little aggressively in trying to push Shapiro into that seat. And it backfired. It actually did not help him. If they would have been a little bit more chill, and if he would have been a little bit more chill, it could have happened. And there's a part of me that kind of feel like they were going for Shapiro, but them last 72 hours kind of made things a little shaky. And I do believe, if I was a betting man, I do think Shapiro was the one. And then a lot of things kind of happened. A lot of things happened in those last couple of days. For starters, Tim Walz's popularity just soared. He just was a hit with everybody. He was the consensus guy across the end. I kept saying that when I did I said, this guy doesn't have the most controversy. He doesn't have much controversy. He seems to be the Midwest. I kept saying the Midwest seems to be shored up. I kept saying he was doing good. The millennials like him. The Gen Zers like him. He seems to be progressive to a certain degree. Everything about him just seems to be the consensus guy. But I always feel like that if you know the history of Democrats oftentimes do not play to win. It's almost like they always have to placate to somebody or some special interest, and we always get fucked in the end. So I just was surprised that for the first time in a long time, Democrats made smart decisions politically. I was surprised. And in a good surprise. Because I always wanted Walz. I kept saying I wanted Walz. When J.D. Pritzker got out the way, which was, of course, you all know, over, he was out the way purely on day one. But when Tim Walz entered the chat, and I started seeing his interviews, I just felt like he just was that cool dude. It's obvious this man doesn't want to be president. I feel like he will be a great VP for Kamala. I feel like he's not interested in taking the seat after her. He is the perfect stand-up guy. This is a man who clearly, he's about to finish his term out as governor of Minnesota. I mean, what a great way to enter a legacy. You're going to be the vice president. And I don't think at his age, he's the same, interesting enough, he's the same age as Kamala. So he's very much so youthful. So we're getting folks that are on the what is this? The year it is. This is giving, Gen X is coming into the chat for sure. It's giving Gen Xer love. He's not a boomer. He's a Gen Xer. So I feel like we're getting Gen Xer energy. We're ushering in a new generation of leaders. And we shouldn't go back to boomers, to be honest. We don't need to go back to boomers, to be honest. We need Gen Xers in as elected leaders. So I'm really excited about seeing that energy in both of them. I'm really excited about just his overall enthusiasm, his passion. He just is he means well. He's a teacher. He served in the military. He's feeding kids in public schools. Everything about him just seems to be a good fit. Unions like him. I'm very enthusiastic about him. It wasn't that awkward of him coming to Philadelphia. They did have the event on Tuesday night. I went to go see Mama Mia. I did not want to go to that rally. I'm so fortunate to be COVID-free. Knock on wood. The kids still don't have COVID. Thank God. No COVID. Definitely was practicing my distancing at stuff. I don't want to be in large crowds. I need space. I need backup. So I'm fortunate that I did not get COVID. I'm so happy. I've been keeping myself up on that. People are traveling, all this traveling, being around people. I'm avoiding COVID at all costs. Okay. I just keeping myself. I'm so happy that I was able to make it through. You just don't understand. I was able to make it through. Praise God. So, yeah, he came to Philly and the crowd loved him. They were not crying that Josh Shapiro was not the VP pick. The way that they're packing crowds, Nevada, they're in Michigan, they're traveling. They're packing 16,000, over 10,000 people at these arenas. People are in lines, droves of lines. These crowds are here. I haven't seen Democrats get this kind of momentum. This is crazy. It's giving 2016, without, Hillary, she had a couple of packed spaces, but the way that people are coming out for Kamala and Walz, this is, they're doing it. Kamala's up in the polls. Okay, she's closing in on battleground states. It's looking good right now. It's looking good. It's looking good. Okay, it's looking good. I do believe Pennsylvania's going to be won without Shapiro being the VP pick. I thought that before. I believe that now. The polls are showing that. Kamala's got it, man. I really do think she can win this. I have restored faith. You know, they got to keep pushing, okay? Because this is the honeymoon phase. But they are going to do it. I believe in them. I think they can pull this off. I think there's enough positive vibes and energy that's going to push us through in November. But everybody's got to, and I thought that with Biden. I believed it with Biden, but I believe it more so with Kamala. I think this move, this excitement, the Divine Nine is just here for it. Everybody's here for her. Everybody step up their game. Everybody's trying to show up and show out. We got to do this. We got to do this. And there's just no excuses. And now that Walz is in, okay, some of y'all that was still on the sidelines, acting like y'all couldn't do it with Shapiro, everybody's getting what they want. She's doing everything. She's doing the right thing. She's speaking right. I just feel like she is the ideal candidate for the Democratic Party right now. And it doesn't get no better than this. For a mainstream candidate, the way that she's talking about the issues, the way that she's being present, the way that she's engaging, I'm sorry, but this is top A right here. This is grade A right here. Tim Walz as a candidate, as a VP pick, she's letting y'all know where she is at. Give her the grace. Give her the chance. Because it could have been worse. It could have been worse. And she's doing the damn thing. I'm excited about the DNC. I'm curious. I'm not going, by the way, because again, I'm trying to avoid these large-ass crowds. I'm excited about the DNC. I'm curious who's going to perform. There's been rumors of different performers. I'm not believing until I see it. I hate people when they predictions and shit about. Listen. Everybody like, oh, Beyonce. If Beyonce comes, I'll see it when I believe it. I'm not buying into it. If the DNC gets Beyonce to come out, child, that's it. The election's over. Go ahead and give Kamala the president. She will be the first woman president elected. Okay? Because we all know Taylor Swift is sitting back. Now, listen. Taylor Swift is her family is scared of her taking political positions. They're worried about death threats and all this. She's one of the most influential pop stars of our generation. And if she doesn't feel like she can be safe taking a political position, child, what the fucking point of having a platform, Taylor Swift? I don't care. I really don't. This is an important election. If you believe in Kamala and y'all, see, that's what I get with these white feminists. These white pop stars, girl power, girl empowerment, but y'all can't come up show up for Kamala. Y'all scared? Man, fuck y'all. I don't care. I'm not here for it. This is the most important election. You know what it is? Because people like Taylor Swift is going to be fine regardless. Fine. But you lost cool points for me. Fuck you and your music. If you don't get out here and you don't endorse and you don't take a stand with all that fame, all that attention, if you don't put your hat in this race and be on the right side of history, I don't care. I don't care what you got to do. I'm sorry. I don't. Because at a certain point, you got to influence your crowd. Get people to be registered to vote. Tell people to vote. Okay? Charlie XCX. Okay? Got the hottest damn record. Okay? This Brat album is doing its thing. She came out and said Kamala's Brat and got the girls hyped. She's the moment. Okay? Kamala's having a Brat summer. She co-signed a Brat summer. She's a white girl and she's doing pop. So what's your excuse, Taylor? I just don't care. Go away. I don't. You got this album with 43 variations. To me, if you could do that and get people to show up and be annoyed, I just don't care. At some point, you got to hold people accountable. Now, Beyonce came out the gate, okay, supporting and endorsing. Is Beyonce getting death threats? Probably not. Maybe so. She don't give a fuck. But who she show up for? Kamala. They said she donated some to the campaign. She let Kamala use Freedom, her song from her album, and she's used the song as the campaign music. Okay. Taylor Swift, you scared about making an endorsement. Girl, whatever. Who cares? You're placating into white privilege. Because I know she does not support. I know she doesn't, um support. You know what I'm saying? Mm, wow. It's a lot. It's a lot. But we gotta get to a point as a people, where we just gotta do better. We just gotta do better. I mean, my community doing better. I don't know about other people's communities. I'll just say that. But I just want better for Taylor Swift, though. I really do. I do. Because at a certain point, it's just like there's always an excuse. So be better. That's what I gotta say. Do better. But this campaign has a lot of momentum. I'm super excited about it. I want people to show up and show out. I'm really enthusiastic about what's coming down the pipeline. Um, you know, yeah, I just, that's real. So, moving along, I am, campaigns that are not doing too well. Um, Trump, Trump struggling, y'all. It's getting real. It's getting real. But Trump is struggling, and at a certain point, you know, you just have to just hang it up. Offices of his is closing. He had some field offices that he tried to put out for 5 seconds. Apparently, they're closing. He's running out of money. He's getting hella desperate. These press conferences he's doing is backfiring on him. Um, he's getting really obsessed about crowd size. He's really feeling some type of way about Kamala's crowd sizes. Like he wants to say they're not real. He wants to compare his crowd size to Martin Luther King's. I had a dream speech, where he was the Washington, Mall. He's just making some comparisons that don't exist. He's unhinged. He's deranged. He regrets JD Vance's VP pick. There are a bunch of you know Republicans and conservatives that are getting that's not supporting him. Joe Rogan, which is a nutcase, but Joe Rogan, who's been a big Trumper for years, is now supporting RFK Jr. And the girls are fighting because Trump is now trashing Joe Rogan now. And so they're beefing. Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan podcast, they're beefing now. Nick Fuentes, who's one of the Proud Boy leaders, he not even banging with Trump. It is giving me, in the hip hop battles, as my brother was telling me about, when everybody stopped fucking with Drake and got on with Future and Metro Booming and they all ganged up on Drake. That's what it's feeling like. Are we it's giving it like that remix. Like all of the conservative bros are like not banging with Trump. Trump's losing support. There was the other guy, Kyle Rittenhouse, that for 5 seconds said he wasn't supporting Trump. And then he turned around and backpedaled. Now he's backing Trump again. But like a lot of people are falling out of line with Trump. They're not feeling Trump. Trump is losing his base. There's some ground he's losing. It's not looking good for him right now. And JD Vance is not helping him any. I mean, JD Vance has been a huge disappointment. I thought, maybe JD could, he's a failure. He is a failure. He's not funny. He doesn't have personality. And this dude is like a millennial, y'all. He's like 39 years old. I think he's like about to turn 40. I think at this point he's about to be 40 sooner, or he's 40 already, whatever. This dude is like corny and not in the best ways, but it's just not looking good. Trump has agreed to do some debates. He is going to do the ABC debates after trying to pigeonhole Kamala, the vice president. Now he's going to be on a debate with Vice President Harris. That is now happening. So shit is getting real. But it's just a lot of backpedaling. And I'm just watching this shit unfold. And I'm sitting here and I'm just like, every 5 seconds, you keep moving the goalpost. One moment, you're not doing the debate. Now you're doing the debate. You want to do this Fox News debate, but Kamala has not agreed to that. So we just got some interesting backpedaling going on. Trump doesn't have an identity at this point. I mean, his supporters are dwindling. These press conferences at Mar-a-Lago are just blandering. It's obvious there's a mental cognitive issue happening there. Listen, I'm not a neurologist, but I'm just saying that it's obvious. Like, now, what's funny? I kept saying this throughout this entire podcast, that while everybody kept talking about Biden's mental decline and all these issues, which are legitimate and fair critiques, there was not enough conversation about Trump's mental health and wellness and his cognitive. And now that we have gotten the age conversation out the way with the Democrats, now we're looking at Trump and it's becoming more obvious to people. Both of them, Biden and Trump, were two old men that had no business running for president at their old ass age. Biden's out the way. Now Trump got to go. People talk about Trump should drop out. It's too late, baby. It's too late. Y'all done did this RNC. Y'all done did y'all convention. The delegates are in. It's over now. It's over. Trump got to take that L. And that's a beautiful thing. Because Trump's got to lose. And honestly, he's got to lose badly. Because this ass whooping needs to happen. Because the Republican Party has to realize that they got to take the party back from Trump. They got to take the party back from Trump. I know Nikki Haley somewhere. See, I don't even fuck with her because she's a flip-flopper. She should have shut her ass up and not say anything about this race. But fine, she wanted to get involved. She wanted to endorse Trump. She wanted to backpedal. She was right the whole time. Listen, Nikki called this back in January. She was like, look, she kept saying, and this is so weird. They kept saying Kamala was going to be the presidential candidate. They kept saying she was going to be the one. They kept saying it, y'all. They called it. They kept saying Kamala was going to be, that this is a race against Kamala. They been said it. They knew that was going to be the play. Biden made the play. He was smart. He said, I got to get out because at this point, you put Biden against Donald Trump, it gets sticky. But you take Biden out. Biden said, I'm out now. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. I really want to say it's a wrap. It's a wrap to me. But I know I got to wait and see how this plays out. I got to wait and see how it plays out. Because racism and sexism still exist in this country. And we're dealing with a black woman running for president. So as much as it should be a wrap, you never know. But Trump is giving it to her, man. I mean, he's struggling. And when he debates her, oh my God. Like, this debate is about to be wild. I mean, Walz versus J.D. Vance? Come on. This is primetime TV. I can't wait for these debates. My mouth is savoring. My mouth is watering. I cannot wait for this debate. My mouth is salivating. Like, I can't wait to sink my teeth and watch this. I'm just saying. We as a people gotta be ready. We gotta be ready for this. We just got to. It's happening. So, moving along. Progressives. We back on progressives. The follow-up from last week's episode. I'm struggling with progressives, Rob. I am. I'm a pragmatic progressive. I'm not a radical progressive. I just can't even, I don't know what is progressive about the progressive space right now. I don't know what the fuck people are doing. But whatever this shit is, get it together. Because y'all about to lose the whole movement right now with these fucking shenanigans. Let's get to it. So first off, let me start by talking about this. Cori Bush lost. You all heard it on this show weeks. I've been saying that it's not looking good for Cori Bush. Okay? It's not looking good for her. It's not. It did not. She lost. She lost her primary race to a black man named Wesley Bell. Now, what people will say is that she lost because AIPAC dumped millions of dollars in the race against her. And AIPAC, did the same thing with Jamal Bowman. We saw it with Jamal Bowman. They really are against certain progressives. They do not like the squad, but they choose certain people in the squad. It's sad that the two black progressives that are part of the squad were the first to get taken out, right? AOC is still there. A couple other people are there. It's time for progressives to have an honest conversation about what happened here. Now, I will admit, I will agree. Big money played a role. They put Wesley Bell in that position. They bumped him in that position, and clearly he got the seat. Ain't no doubt about what happened. Big money played a big role in that race. Millions upon millions of dollars. It's ridiculous. But I'm going to say this. I told this to a person in Philadelphia. In a certain city council race where the race was between 400 votes. I interviewed, and I'm going to say this respectfully, I interviewed Cindy Bass when she nearly lost her race to Seth Anderson Oberman over there in that Germantown, Tioga, whatever. She's over there. Now, she won by 400 votes. That's fucking slim. She kept talking and was like, talking about how there was outside money and outside interests to justify her race being close. I said to her, that's outside money, but them votes are inside. Translation, your district voted in that race. Your district voted in that race. I have seen races where big money came into a race, but the elected official held on to their seat. Almond Brown in West Philly. He holds on to his seat. Maria Quinones Sanchez, when she was in her city council seat, she held on. The party and supporter, they didn't do her right. Money was funny over there with people. But let me say this. Your constituents hold you down. Okay? Period. I don't care about no outside money. Outside money do play a role. But at the end of the day, if you doing right by your constituents, you should be okay in a district race. So I talked to people over there, over there in Missouri. People did not like the fact that she did not support the infrastructure bill. The infrastructure bill, she did a protest vote. She didn't support it. But a lot of people felt like her not supporting the infrastructure bill, that was one of the most important bills that helped Biden build back better, right? She didn't support that bill. Her constituents were not pleased. They said her constituent services were a little off-putting. They were a little janky. They felt like she spent too much time getting involved in these super national politics and not pay attention to issues in her district. Sounds familiar? Okay. They said the same thing about Jamal Bowman. When you look at these other members of the squad and why their districts, they don't get fucked with, because they do spend a lot of energy in their congressional district, resources, attention. Say what you want about AOC, but AOC be over there in her district, tending to her district, because she has to, because she understands that yes, redistricting, all that stuff happens, but you gotta pay attention to your constituents. These congressional people get a little too caught up in trying to be Miss National, Mr. National. And that's cute, you being a national superstar. But you better make sure you taking care of the people who vote for you. Because you could get them national dollars for your campaign. You could go on them national fundraisers. But your people in your backyard gotta like you and gotta trust you and gotta vote for you and support you. And it's obvious that while money did play a role in Cori Bush's race, she got a little too caught up. And that's what happens with a lot of these progressives. I gotta keep it 100. A lot of these progressives get so caught up in trying to be a national superstar that they don't recognize that a hometown hero will stay elected, but a national superstar may not. Everybody loves a hometown hero. If you are a hometown hero in your district, you can get elected. So I always tell people, don't get so caught up in that national spotlight that you might lose your seat at home. Because I feel like that's the issue with Malcolm Kenyatta. Malcolm Kenyatta, look, wants to be national all day long. But his seat is only protected because the establishment keeps putting roadblocks to protect him. At a certain point, if this dude do not stop running for these national seats, he will lose his state rep seat, and he will lose everything. Want to know how I know? Ask Brian Sims. Ask Jamal Bowman. Ask Cori Bush. You keep trying to get out there and get this national spotlight, you're going to lose your seat at home if you keep playing. Just an observation. Just an observation. I've been around enough in politics to see how these seats get shaken. It is what it is. I've seen enough. I've seen these seats. I've seen how people get on these seats and they shake up shit and they get messy, they get petty, they play all these games. I've seen it. I've seen it. It's a lot. And so I tell people that at a certain point, you just got to be prepared for your seat. I feel like when I saw the situation happen to her, specifically, when I saw what was happening to, Cori Bush's race, when I saw the article come out about Jamal Bowman losing, I remember there was an article came out that said, will Cori Bush be next? And to me, I felt like progressives should have immediately got real heavy and deep in protecting her, and they didn't. They didn't. And so there's a lot being said there. There's a lot being said there. And I think at a certain point, we gotta get there. We gotta do something different. And we gotta do something different. And we gotta speak up. And we gotta take action. And we just gotta step up more. And I just wish progressives did that more rather than doing so much internalized fighting. Which brings me to my next point. This situation that's going on right now with, this situation with the bloodshed in Gaza and the response and expectations of what the vice president can do regarding the incidents and the terror and the horror and the bloodshed and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, in Palestine, right? There is a lot of heat and smoke coming towards the vice president in ways that I feel like is disproportionate. I'm sensing a little bit of anti-blackness, and I'm sensing a lot. I'm feeling all types of feelings about this issue. Now, let me be very clear. I want a ceasefire. The vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris, is calling for a ceasefire, calling for hostages to be returned home. That's across the board. Everybody wants that, right? How to achieve that, how to do that right now, there's different ways that people are debating it. Negotiations and conversations are being had. Those conversations cannot be had publicly and openly because guess what? You put the strategy out and then what happens? But I do believe the vice president when she says she is doing and having those conversations. She is taking positions that are much louder than Biden. And she's taking heat across both sides of the aisle on this issue. The Republicans are saying she's doing whatever. If Trump gets elected, he says he's going to let Israel, quote unquote, finish the job. Do you know what that means? Finish the job? That means he's going to blow Palestine and Palestinians out of the West Bank. He's going to just basically kill and commit a mass genocide. That's pretty much what he's going to do. You want to talk about genocide? You want to talk about if Trump gets elected, he says he's going to let Israel finish the job. And if the job means killing Palestinians, every Palestinian off of that, that's what he's down with doing. Trump has not called for a ceasefire. Trump is not discussing a ceasefire. The Republicans' position on this issue is not ceasefire. So if that is the conversation on that side, and we're listening to what the vice president is saying while she is currently in office, I just don't understand why there is this level of disdain, disgust, and harmful disrespect that she's still facing while she's on her campaign trail. Now, granted, I understand that people will say they're pushing her to the middle, they're pushing her on the issue, they're applying pressure. I get that. But there is a certain way in which this is being done that I do feel could cause more hurt to her campaign and her efforts to actually get the damn seat. Because at a certain point, I'm asking these people, do you want to win or do you want this sense of self-righteousness? Because the self-righteousness will get us all killed. And the reality is that you're dealing with a very particular demographic of people that have grown up in the era of saying, look, you got to put your life mask on before you save other people. Democrats, black folks, voters in this country, liberal voters, progressive, we want to see this get resolved. We got to make sure this could be a win-win for everybody. Because if you get in a situation where, okay, you've pressured her in a certain way, you've shamed her, you've made her take positions, you've gotten folks confused, she loses the election, and then guess what? Is there enough progressives to ensure that she wins? You all told her if she picked Shapiro that was going to be the end. She didn't pick Shapiro. Now the goalpost keeps getting moved. Now she's at rallies and everybody is complaining about the way she's talking. Oh, they got mad because she said you could do what you want. But if you want Trump to win, say that. But just say that. But I'm speaking. They got mad. They said that wasn't the nicest way to address the issue. Look, with context, we all know that there was a lot of tension. There was a lot of tension because what we found out is that Kamala, the vice president, had a meeting with the team, the people around Withhold the Vote, those protesters that are calling for, a ceasefire, all of the things. She had a meeting with them before her rally in Michigan. She met with them. They want her to stop an embargo of weapons in Israel. Clearly, that's not going to happen right now because Israel is under attack and under the threat of attack by Iran. So, in some ways, that is their ally. There is a confusion here, right? That, okay, they need the missiles to protect themselves against Iran. However, there is a narrative that people are saying by her still not dropping the embargo, are those weapons going to Israel to just simply bomb Gaza? The U.S. government's position, I don't think that is the case. Clearly that can happen. Let's be clear that it can still be happening. And there are issues with Bibi Netanyahu. I am not an apologist for his ass. But to a certain extent, the rationale from the government is they still want to provide arms to Israel to protect them from Iran because there's some shit going over there with Hezbollah and there's some other issues happening beyond just what's happening in Gaza. That's the case. One could also argue, which is the critique, that they're not just using those weapons to protect themselves against Iran, they're also using those weapons to still bomb Gaza. So there's a lot of conflict there. There's no getting out of that reality. But at this point in time, it's impossible right now to expect that she's going to stop all arms going to Israel. One, it's not her call. She's not the president. That's President Joe Biden. Two, you're asking to put pressure on her to influence it. She's going to influence what she can. Maybe this is what she wants to do. And Biden is telling her no. We don't know. Because at the same time, she still got to perform a united front. Because at the end of the day, Biden supporters and Biden's party, he is still the leader right now. So her hands are tied. And the problem with progressives is that if you don't recognize the nuance of these issues, see, the reality is that some of these progressives are one-issue voters. That's fine. You want to be a one-issue voter? Fine. But the majority of voters are not one-issue voters. So there is a level of grace and a level of nuance that we have to hold as voters on various issues. Because we do recognize at the end of the day, we know that whoever is going to be president is going to be Kamala or Donald Trump. That is the only two options. I don't give a fuck about Jill Stein. She's not happening. She is going to probably only get 1% of the vote, if that. Stop talking about her. It's not fucking happening. And you all know it's not happening because at the end of the day, if you thought it was happening, you will be working to get this woman elected for 4 fucking years. Not just the last 1 year of the fucking election where you bring up her name as an alternative. That's got to stop. Okay, Nina Turner, all of these chaos agents that sit up and benefit off of democratically elected officials in their cities and states. Y'all are not running green candidates. Y'all barely support Working Families Party. Y'all don't support these other candidates in third parties. Shut up. You're bitter. And then most of these people run as Democrats any fucking way. So all this talk about the party is the party that, but you're always complaining. And at some point, when are you going to put some skin in the game? You demand all this from Kamala. You demand her to do this, that, and the third, but you wasn't even rooting for her. She's got a group of people she's got to answer to, and she can't just placate to your one issue. Like, it's just, to me, the selfishness of, oh, this is the one issue I care about. Stop everything. And it's also interesting because you have some folks that are saying some anti-Black shit, talking about we got the 10-year anniversary of the death of Michael Brown. And there's people talking about how, comparing solidarity, talking about how Black women, showed up for Mike Brown and they need them to show up for this. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Did you all show up for Mike Brown? Not saying that there were certain people who did it. I'm just saying that, is this what we doing? We doing a compare contrast? We're shaming people. Black women show up for everything all the damn time. They taking the most fucking hits than anybody else. Nasty rhetoric. Hearing people say, oh, I hear you as Black women identify, you support for Kamala because you identify with Kamala because she's a Black woman, but I need you to don't do that. Don't do that. Like, don't. That's ill. Don't do that. Don't do it. Because you got to understand that also understanding Black voters is pragmatic voters. Because when brown people and everybody else gets something, they fuck us over all the time culturally. Let's be fucking clear. Everybody else, every culture and group of people outside of Black people themselves, when they've got to come up with, Black people was never the priority in their concerns. But historically, Black people have been at the forefront of most movements to help amplify and support other groups. Anytime you talk about an anti-hate group or anything, what Black people have done is shown up in solidarity as a collective. There's always bad apples, so don't tell me about the Nation of Islam, okay? Do not tell me about Farrakhan. Talk about the collective. We as a collective have oftentimes unified against anti-Semitism. We are the ones who have spoken out against Islamophobia. We are the ones who spoke out against other types of forms of hate. We oftentimes take stances and positions to support other communities faster than they do before us. While other groups are tiptoeing and figuring out whether or not to say Black Lives Matter, we were the ones that people can call and rely on to show up, to speak out against what's happening in other communities. Look it up. Look it the fuck up. The NAACP has oftentimes been on that. Our Black coalitions have often spoke up. Other people will placate. So don't sit up and tell Black women specifically where they should be positioning and what they should do. Because to be honest, they're the ones articulating these issues better than some of these other groups. They're out here in the communities educating us about these issues in the Middle East. So don't do that. Don't do that to them. And stop using them as a fucking mule. How about you actually understand that it's always the demands of Black women, whether it's Kamala. It's interesting how the smoke gets heavily applied to people like her. And then everyone wants to talk about Trump and, because people have said, why don't they go to the Donald Trump protest? And people say, well, that's an irrational decision. Da, 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 da. Cool. But you know what's funny? My ancestors, they had to engage everybody. Okay? We boycotted Trump. We showed up. They showed up. We went in uncomfortable spaces. If you are only fixated on trying to put pressure on the Democrats and you're not looking at this holistic, or at least making this issue, forcing the whole political group to change their stances, you're doing it wrong. Black folks shame Republicans and definitely call Republicans for taking these horrible stances. I'm just saying, it's very interesting how comfortable people get in these positions. And I understand the rationale. I do understand these different sides. I'm just saying, be careful how you talk to Black people about this issue. Because there are Black people that are sacrificing, that are speaking out about it, that are taking the political hits and the financial hits and the employment hits. There are people who are. And understand the folks that cannot be as vocal out loud. Understand that as a Black person, especially Black queer people, we are making cuts and sacrifices all the time. You don't got to tell us nothing about sacrifice. Black folks know what the fuck sacrifice is. You got the wrong audience. If you think telling us about being in solidarity, we don't need to hear that. We know. But we also got to navigate our survival. Because time after time, We're the only ones, time after time, we're the only ones who got ourselves when shit fall through the cracks. I don't necessarily see a united front for us in the same way. So I would just encourage people to give people a little bit of grace, specifically Black women. Give them grace on how they want to navigate this issue. But there's a lot of issues, and we can spend all day telling people which issue is more important than other. But for Black folks, we've been having issues. Listen, racism has been important to us forever, and we've been told to sit that one out for a minute. So it's going to be really hard for people to just feel like this is the issue of the century when there's always been an issue of the century. It's not about not having sympathy. And I will say that the vice president on the campaign trail has been adjusting how she talks about these issues and being more empathetic. But she's also recognizing that her campaign cannot be predicated off of one particular singular issue. Not when Roe v. Wade is under attack. Not when DEI has been under attack. Not when we got the Supreme Court that we have. It's just impossible. And it's unfair. It's unfair. It's unfair. Because like I've been telling people, everybody want to talk about what's going on abroad, and that's also legitimate, right? But there is lots of issues happening domestically in this country. There's deep poverty, deep malnutrition, lack of access to clean water. We still have not addressed Flint. Flint still got dirty water. Like, we don't address a lot of these issues on a regular basis. And so it's just understand, again, the complexity of how some voters feel about these issues. When you're come to North Philly, go to Kensington, and tell people about a crisis abroad. Not to say I'm trying to do the oppression Olympics, but I just want people to put in context that there are people living in dire straits right here at home that cannot even fathom and imagine and consider what's going on abroad because they're going through hell in this country. And if you can't have the nuance, the empathy to recognize that there are people who are looking at this presidential candidate as an answer to their shit as well as the other shit going on foreignly, then you're missing the fucking mark. She has to juggle all of that. She has to juggle domestic, foreign policy. She has to juggle all of that. Just give people grace. Just give people grace. Because I've never seen one issue dominate an entire election this way. I remember with Hillary Clinton, there were people trying to call her out about her past. Shit. I mean, we can't even talk about past issues because of what we got currently in front of us, but man. I just think about how women specifically face these very targeted critiques in ways that I just don't see the men deal with. I just don't see them deal with that same aggression. And I feel like people know they can do it to women compared to men in a different way. And specifically a Black woman. Like there's just a certain way they know they can pressure her, and it's just so unfair to her. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. I've just seen a lot. So I want to talk about the 76ers arena. The Delaware governor has shot his shot. He shoots his shot at trying to make convince people about the 76ers arena. It's been interesting. It's been real quiet about the 76ers arena. I feel like there was a moment in time where everybody was talking about it, and now barely anyone is talking about it. And I just kind of feel like I'm knocking on wood. Is it over? Is it over, guys? Like, is it going to stop? Are we going to move on? I hope so. But it's been interesting how quiet it's been. But Delaware seems to want it. And listen, Delaware, if y'all want it, go give it to Delaware. And I've seen some people get online trying to say we got it over here. Child, no, we don't, and no, we won't. I don't want it. I don't want a 76ers arena in Philly. I've made that very clear personally. Honestly, we have yet to hear of a plan. I still haven't seen a plan. The whole hood want to see a plan. Where the plan at? The whole hood wants a plan. Like, I want a plan. Where is the plan? Because everybody keeps talking about it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Where it at? Because I ain't seen it. Everybody want to hold 70, I feel like what happened is that, again, certain unions and groups got real heavy-handed promoting the message, saw a fat check for themselves. Now they're in limbo because implementation and conversations have died down. I really feel like we're going to see in this next city council session, which returns back in September, we're going to see if this is going to play out. Because I'm personally curious to see if it's going to play out. Like, I want to see. I just have a skepticism. I have a skepticism that I don't think the 76 Arena is going to happen because the momentum has died down towards it in favor of it. But the Chinatown protesters are consistent and persistent, and that's a real issue, right? And so I just don't see it happening. I just don't feel like at this point that's the direction anybody want to go. Alternatives, where the fuck is the report? Was it supposed to be like a report that's supposed to let us know, the impact report? Because also, that's the other issue. We have not seen the impact report that was commissioned by former Mayor Jim Kenney. There was supposed to be an impact report that was supposed to tell us how this was going to adversely affect or what it was going to do to us. And that impact report has not come out yet. So that tells me something that, okay, impact report has to come out. There cannot be a move until the impact report comes. Impact report is like, we still haven't seen it. I think it was commissioned like a year ago. It's been like over a year, and I mean, nearly a year, and we have not gotten this report back. So I feel like that impact report is going to reveal that this is going to be a shit show. And I think everybody knows that, and that's why there's been no movement. But it's been real quiet on that front about the 76 Arena. So, we'll see what it's given. But I'm saying right now, 60-40, 60 is telling me no, 40 is telling me perhaps. So this week's Ask Ernest really was about an interesting question based on something that I wrote earlier this week. And I had to remind myself, because sometimes I get myself caught up in a lot of the online banter when it comes to politics. And, y'all see me. I get out here. I get a little scrappy. Not so much on Instagram, clearly. It's a more controlled environment. But when I think about, Twitter, it gets a little spicy on that Twitter. And I've just been recognizing that everybody's not on the same wavelength. Not that everyone should, but even people who frame themselves as being intelligent are not that bright when it comes to certain issues and certain topics. And I've seen that play out in more ways than one. And I'm reminded by just how people act. And that was big to me. Just watching some of the discourse and conversations and debates that people have about certain issues. And for me, I'm not trying to be shady, but I mean, a point has to be made. I've personally made a conscious effort not to engage with vultures and bad faith actors on social media at this point. And it's important to note vultures and bad faith actors, because that's what we're dealing with, It's not easy, but I think that people need to know the difference between someone who is trying to sincerely engage and somebody who's just simply trying to shitpost. There's a lot of people that just get on the internet and just like to talk shit all day. They bored. They tired of scratching their ass. They're going through it. And it's a lot of issues happening in the background. Over the past several weeks, I've seen people keep moving the goalpost. And I talked about that earlier with like even progressives. And I've come to a reality that a lot of these people they're not trying to actually engage in these conversations. It's everything but that. Rather than therapy, rather than mentoring, rather than having discourse with diverse people in real life, these social media platforms is really a cheap alternative for them to just emotionally dump. And I've realized in just what I do personally, people will try to weaponize me being a journalist as a way for them to project their own insecurities. And I've had to tell people, we're not doing that. Period. People have come to me and want to tell me all kind of things, and they'll do it under the sense of, oh, aren't you a journalist? Aren't you? And yes, I am a journalist, but I'm also not your therapist. I'm also not the person that you get to just, dump on and complain to and do all those things to. I'm also not that person either. And so I've learned to set a healthy balance and lean and take a step back in things with certain folks that do that. And it's not easy, right? Because sometimes you're passionate about an issue and a cause, and you want to talk to people, you want to engage people, but to a certain point, you also got to tell people it ain't for me. It's not for me. And I think I have seen certain friends of mine who are very smart, but they get on social media and they want to argue, or they look at what people are saying on Twitter and they think that that's the reality. But I got to keep 100 with y'all. Twitter is not the real world. Twitter is not the real world. And that's what I've come to realize, is that Twitter isn't the real world. It's a fraction of the most passionate folks on any given issue on one space. But when I really check in with my mom, talk to other family members from across the country living in quote unquote battleground states like Texas, like Michigan, like other places, I turn around and I realize, oh, okay. They're not zoomed in on this because they got to work, or they know something about it, but they don't know all the details, or they don't have an informed opinion about it enough to argue and debate a person about something. And the truth of the matter is that a lot of people on Twitter are not informed about a particular issue either. They look at a couple of retweets, they click on one Google article, and they think they know everything about a topic, and they ready to argue and fight based off of one perception. If you had to Google a particular issue to join the conversation, I'm sorry, newsflash, you shouldn't be in the conversation. You should be somewhere watching others discuss it that actually have come from a place of a lot of research and time. And I think people get annoyed with me because they think I'm a smart aleck because I'm the person that, you act like you're an expert in everything. No, I just actually like to join conversations where I feel like I can give an expert opinion to. And things that I don't have an expert opinion, I don't really talk too much about, which is why you don't hear me talk about sports on this podcast. I know about sports, but not enough to give a conversation. This will never be a sports podcast. It just won't. Don't know enough about health and medicine. I know a little bit about medicine and health, a little bit, but I'm not a doctor. I didn't study biology heavily in college. I couldn't give you too much information about it. I know some general things, right? I don't encourage people to smoke cigarettes. I just don't. I don't think cigarette smoking is good for your health. But then what I know, the research shows that, I wouldn't encourage people to smoke cigarettes. I don't think no one should drink and drive. That's just not good for you. That's just the law. But I just can't, I couldn't get into everything. And so that's why you don't hear me talk about it a lot. Can I talk about Hollywood? Yeah, I can talk about Hollywood. I've been there enough, but I've also studied it, researched it, know a lot about Hollywood politics. I can talk about Broadway musicals, clearly. I can talk about food and restaurants in Philadelphia, obviously. I can talk about local politics. I can talk about national politics. I stay in my lane. And I tell people, if you stay in your lane, you spare yourself from a lot of unnecessary drama. I think too many people I've seen get online and enter conversations without the range of knowledge and then get embarrassed or get mad when somebody, corrects them in a way that makes them feel like a big old eggplant. Or facepalm or whatever. I just feel like it doesn't have to be that way if you just sometimes just shut up and just listen. There are times, you don't know how many times I just shut up and watch things. I don't know much about the Olympics. I just shut up and watch the experts talk about it. I'm like, okay, I get it. Okay, that's interesting. But I don't get too much into certain things because, one, I can't learn and know everything, but also I know what I'm passionate about. And the things that I'm not passionate about, I don't necessarily feel the need to weigh in. I'd rather hear what someone else has to say about it and learn from them. And then, think about it a different way. But that's how I learn. And I think because a lot of people, and again, making a point, because people always want to question the use of college, but college, in some ways, in many ways, gave people a foundation to which to learn. Now, whether or not people chose to learn or not, or how to apply, is their business. But one thing I would appreciate about college is just how much the importance of being a critical thinker was. Like, college really shaped me to be a critical thinker. It shaped me on how to process, analyze, synthesize information, how to articulate thoughts, how to refute facts and ideas, how to engage in civil discourse. Like, a lot of those skills that people take for granted that actually help make the world go round, we have not told people that. My brother's about to be a senior at Temple very, very soon. And we have these conversations, and I just love seeing how he's evolved and just the way that he talks about issues, how he thinks about the world, and not even just so much about his ideas, but more about how he articulates and communicates his ideas. Because there's a formal way that he's been able to express it. And I'm not saying that you can't get that without college, but it gets much harder. It gets a lot harder. And you could just tell the difference in discourse sometimes. I'm not gonna hold you. You can just tell the difference in how people talk about issues and how they feel about them, and how they can keep a thread of conversation. I just know, I'll say this, just an observation. A lot of people who I know who are not college educated or are not around a lot of college educated people where they are in conversation frequently with educated folk in that way, I notice certain ways they have conversations. They oftentimes will lead an argument off of anecdotes, which is they just will only refute, they will only talk about something from a frame of mind from their own personal experience. So they'll talk about it in this happened to me, and I know a person like this, and that's all they base their argument on, is a personal experience or anecdote. That's something I notice people who are not in conversations often with educated folk, how they do conversation. And sometimes those conversations are fruitful, right? Sometimes they're not. It depends on the conversation. Because there is space for anecdotes, but it cannot be the only thing you lean on. Sometimes a negative for college educated people, which oftentimes annoy me when I have conversations with certain folks, is that they are too data driven, where everything is about this stat, this stat, this stat, as if stats is the final totality of a situation assessment. I hate those people. Well, what I mean by hate, I don't hate a person, but I strongly cannot stand that approach. I hate that approach. So there's pros and cons in these conversations. Also, I see people who are uneducated, they'll get very emotionally invested and frustrated in a situation, a conversation, where they start taking the dialogue personal rather than recognizing that it's just a civil debate. So in college settings, we are oftentimes taught healthy debate and dialogue where we can discuss issues without getting personal or taken as an individual. I have found that when having certain conversations with folks that are not in that training, they will immediately take it personal or feel like a disagreement or negate is a personal attack on them rather than a disagreement on the issue at hand. Just certain patterns I've noticed. And these are just constant conversations, because I believe in having dialogue with people from all walks of life and levels of life, because there's something to learn from everybody. But I have noticed in recent chatter on the internet, and also just in offline, these patterns around political issues. And I started to realize that I don't want to say the word low information voter, because I think that's just very problematic for so many reasons, because I don't think it's low information voter. I just think I'm recognizing that some people just, their critical thinking skills are not fully exercised, that they don't know how to communicate their thoughts in ways that allow them to learn and unlearn habits. It takes time, and someone has to teach you that, because you just don't learn by yourself. Trust me, I know. And through time, I've gotten better at it, but also it's because I'm also working at that mind muscle on a regular basis. Like every day, I'm consistently having conversations and debates and things, and I've just learned how to get better at taking in what I'm hearing, unlearning something on the spot, reaffirming things that I consistently realize is true, sharing personal experiences to help add value to a conversation. Not the only thing I'm bringing to the conversation, but learning the importance of personal experience in the story. Because you can do that when people make absolutes. So sometimes that annoys me sometimes when people do absolutes on something. Like, oh, black people don't know how to swim. Okay, we don't say that. Like, I know how to swim. Oh, okay. Yeah, shut up with that. I know how to swim. Like, I've had a conversation where actually recently I had a conversation with somebody and they kind of said it's absolute. And I was like, yeah, that's not true. I know how to swim. And they're like, what? But to be clear, there is some cultural boundaries on why black folks don't swim or have hesitancy to swim. There's a lot of cultural reasons why. But to say black people just don't know how to swim as if it's an innate thing in us, or we just physically don't know how, or some kind of cognitive thing, that's wrong, right? We need to unpack why that's the case. And so there's cultural reasons, right? So there's, it's a way to discuss these type of topics without, making sweeping generalizations. Now, sometimes sweeping generalizations work when it comes to history. So when you say this is an inherently racist country, yeah, that's a fair thing to say. America has been an inherently racist country. Like, that's just, this country's been built off of slavery, xenophobia, and bigotry. Like, that's just a fact. Like, you just can't say this has been a land of the free, justice for all. Like, that's just bullshit. You can say that, and that's fine. And if a white person feels that way, I don't know what to tell you. Either you just don't read history books, or you just are feeling some type of way. Well, I don't know what to do with your white guilt. You gotta go deal with that with somebody else. But that's not my responsibility. To assuage your white guilt is not my responsibility. But that's something that we have to address. Like, that's just something you gotta be clear about. But like, those are ways. But I just think we just have to recognize that. And I think the older I've gotten, the more I begin to realize everybody's not worth the time. I don't need to convert somebody's mind. I don't want to argue with anybody that does not worth the argument. Some people I'm just like, I'm good on that. Who are you? You ain't worth my time, baby. I'm not arguing with anybody with avatars. I'm not arguing with anybody who's, got some fake profile picture, some random ass name. I'm just not doing that. Period. So that's me. So, and I'd say that for these terminally online liberals, because there's a lot of terminally online people where they literally wake up every morning and live on the internet. Like, their whole life is their phone. And I must say, as a journalist, as a person that's in media, I do spend a great chunk of my time online because that's how I make my living. But I'm also recognizing there are times in which there's no winning here. There's no winning here. There's nothing to be learned here either. And so when stuff gets fruitless, I back away. I'm like, I'm good on that. I'm just not gonna waste my time. Let me preserve my energy. But that takes time. And with this election year and this cycle, there's a lot of folks online just talking all types of reckless, all types of crazy. And at some point, we gotta be grown and put our foot down and say, nah, I'm good on that. And that's what I'm just doing for me. So I encourage others, if you can and when you can, please try it. For real. That's my thoughts. So movies. There's a lot going on, y'all. There's a lot going on in Hollywood. White Hollywood is fighting. They are. They're fighting. So I want to talk about this movie. It Ends With Us. It's by Colleen Hoover's book. If you know who It Ends With Us, it starts with us. She got all them goddamn books as New York Times bestsellers. A lot of people really, really love this series. The film is hot right now. Everybody's been talking about it. A lot of people, has been hooked on the film. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively date. They're that, Hollywood couple. There's been a lot of conversations about their relationship. They're the it couple in Hollywood. Honestly, I don't really know why they're that famous. I never understood the hype around Blake Lively. Okay, she was in Gossip Girl like over a decade ago. I just don't get like how there's people, like there's celebrities where I'm like, okay, I remember they were famous, But it's like some people, I just don't get why they're like ridiculously famous. Like, I don't know why everybody just be hell over backwards about certain folks. So It Ends With Us came at number 2 in the box office under Deadpool and Wolverine. Um, Blake Lively's married to that white guy. See, look at me. I'm being shady. But I'm just saying, like, Ryan Reynolds, who I guess they're friends with Taylor Swift. So people be hype about. I guess that play. Like, I feel like anybody that Taylor Swift is connected to is famous off of her. I mean, they're already famous, but even more famous. Like, I think about people's like, well, why is Sabrina Carpenter big? Sabrina Carpenter is big because she's big. But y'all forget, Sabrina Carpenter opened up for Taylor Swift at the Eras Tour last year. She was an opening act for Taylor Swift. And y'all remember, Taylor Swift had 60,000 people arenas. So thousands upon thousands of people got to see Sabrina Carpenter get exposed to her music last year because of Taylor Swift's tour. Like, if you was ever to open for an artist at this magnitude, opening for Taylor Swift is epic. Same thing with Charlie XCX. Everybody's like, why Charlie XCX hot again? Like, wasn't she out like 10 years ago in that song Fancy with Iggy Azalea? Yes, that's the same Charlie XCX. XCX, not XCX. It's XCX. Well, the thing about it is, 10 years later, here she is, and she's even hotter than ever because she was also a part of Taylor Swift's tour. So it's a lot of different reasons why artists are blowing up. Charlie XCX is 32 years old now. She was 22 years old when Fancy came out with Iggy Azalea and her on it. It was a moment in time. That's a hot song. I know she's problematic, that Iggy Azalea, but Fancy was that song, child. Okay, Fancy was a bop, a problematic bop, but a bop nonetheless. And Justice for Bangers with Miley Cyrus. Justice for Bangers. But anywho, this movie. So Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively both have the number 1, number 2 movie at the box office right now. Deadpool and Wolverine is about to get close to $500 million by the end of this week. It's been number 1 on the charts for 3 consecutive weeks. It just grossed like $200 million the first week, $99 million the second week, now $54 million the third week. I mean, it's just killing it. It Ends With Us made $50 million at the box office, which is not bad given, its budget and everything like that. So there's been drama because there's an actor named Justin Baldini or Balderi. I want to make sure I say it right because there's been some drama on the set with this movie. So there's some drama going on. This movie is, first of all, I watched it. I seen it. It's all right. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay. I'll leave it at that. It's okay film. But there's been drama with this film because Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, which is her husband, they've been obsessed with trying to dictate the direction of this film. And it's a serious film, actually. It starts off as romantic, but it carries some major highlights around domestic violence. And it is a very serious film in that regard. So Justin Baldoni is the director of the film, but he's also an actor in the film. So Colleen Hoover is the one who wrote the book. She's a New York Times bestselling author. A lot of people think her books are not that well written or cheesy, but she sells them like they sell like hot fries. They're popping. They're good. She's got so many books. They're popping books. But she really was passionate about this film, and she got many people, because the book is a bestseller. A lot of people wanted to make a film adaptation of this book. This book came out in 2016, but it's been a hot seller on the New York Times bestseller ever since. And so a lot of people wanted to adapt this book into a film. Justin Baldoni sent her a lovely email and told her how much he wanted to really, he valued the book and really thought that he could turn it into a powerful film. She liked the idea. She sold the rights to the film for this film and even the sequel. So there's a sequel called It Starts With Us, right? Which we'll get to that. But He really wanted this to be a powerful movie that really talked about the complications of love, domestic violence, relationships, all of that. Very powerful, very powerful. So Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds got involved. Blake Lively's the lead star in the film. She plays Lily Bloom. For those who read the book, Lily Bloom's the lead character. She plays Lily Bloom. And she really wants to be, she's the lead in the film. She's also a producer of the film. She's not a director, but she's a producer. Ryan Reynolds is Blake Lively's husband in real life. Just over the top. They wanted to change the film's direction and do a cut. Like, have their hand trying to cut the film. Which is disrespectful to Justin Baldoni because he is the director. Like, this is vision, this is film. They wanted to do a certain cut of the film, and when they tested out, their version of the cut sucked. And so Justin Baldoni's cut, a director's cut, the one that Kathleen Hoover liked, that stayed in the film. Allegedly, there's been tension between Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, and crew. The cast has been doing interviews and press junkets without Justin. Justin has separately been doing interviews with the press about the film. And when he talks about the movie, he emphasizes the marketing about how this is about domestic violence, it's about important issues. Like, he's really doing his damn thing. Meanwhile, Blake Lively is talking about her skincare line and using this whole press tour to really talk about herself and her husband and just a bunch of boys. Like, it's been a self-promoting tour that's been fun and festive. And they've been really trying to treat the movie like it's some type of romantic film, a love film. And that's not what this movie is about. So I'm team Justin Baldoni with the situation. I get he's not the main hot star that everybody knows him as, but the man was trying to do something different. And I really feel like Blake Lively, based on my assessment situation, they just seem to just be just annoying. And I just feel like they're just one of them couples where it's like, why are they famous again? Like, I get Ryan Reynolds has made a name for himself, but Blake Lively, she hasn't really been in a hot film in a minute. Like, I mean, most of her films are pretty bland, pretty white, pretty blame. Like, I don't know the last time she's been like in an epic film. I mean, this is probably one of the biggest films she's been in a long time. A lot of the films she's been in has been kind of flat. Like, I'm just looking at her discography, y'all. I mean, Gossip Girl was a hit like over 10 years ago. Like, I was in like middle school when that I was like in high school and middle school when that was like the talk of the town. But she hasn't really been anything big. I'm trying to look at her discography, but it hasn't been like, she's never really been that big movie star, but just, I think a pretty white woman who's played off of her privilege. Like, because she is, I guess, a known entity. She's 36. I guess because she was a known entity, a lot of people has just put her on there based on it. So, film she's been in. She was in A Simple Favor, again, a failure. The Shallows, The Age of Adeline, Green Lantern, The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, The Town, which was somewhat decent. A Simple Favor 2, which I didn't even know there was a sequel to it. All I See Is You, Elvis and Annabelle, The Sister of the Traveling Pants 2, New York, I Love You, Cafe Society, Hick, The Private Lives of Pippa Lee. I don't know these films. I don't. I really don't. Her discography isn't really that iconic. I mean, Gossip Girl ran from 2007 to 2012. So, yeah, right into my college years. Yeah, because I graduated in 2010. So those 5 years, yeah, from my high school years to my college years, Gossip, halfway through went. So, okay. All right. I guess. Interesting. Mm. So, yeah, I would say, to a certain extent, that's it. That's just white privilege. I don't really know what kind of energy she would be given at this point, but it's cute. It's cute. I mean, good luck with this film. So in other news, because everybody's talking about, what white Hollywood's been up to. We talk about black Hollywood all the time, but I gotta give it to him. Joaquin Phoenix has been a disaster. Allegedly, well, he's dropped out of the Todd Haynes film. Todd Haynes is a legendary filmmaker. I mean, he just made December, Joker, a lot of great films Todd Haynes has done. He's an icon. Todd Haynes was about to do another film, a gay film that Joaquin Phoenix is supposed to be in. Well, Joaquin Phoenix drops out the film allegedly 5 days before they begin the film, and now he's the only person that was cast for the role. They can't recast him. Apparently, the production crew, everybody's screwed, and there's a lot of hurt feelings about it. And Hollywood is feeling some type of way. Because Joaquin Phoenix, for a while, was an asshole in Hollywood. People felt like he was an asshole. And now, this gay romance movie, he abandons it 5 days before it's filmed. What a mess. And people are saying Joaquin Phoenix puts the quitter in LGBTQ. But it's a lot. The producer, for Todd Haynes' gay romance film addresses the Joaquin Phoenix exit for the Hollywood Reporter. He describes it as a nightmare. He defended the production choice to cast Phoenix, who is straight, which a lot of people was upset about, in a film about gay characters. He made the comments on Facebook, but they've been since deleted. The tea is hot. Okay, the tea is hot. So, basically he said that a version, the situation, he shared an article and said a version of this did happen. It has been a nightmare. He said, if you're attempting to finger wag and admonish us that, quote unquote, that's what you get for casting a straight actor, don't. This is a woman who said the producer is she. She wrote, she said, this was his project that he brought us to, and Killer's record on working with LGBTQ actors, crew, directors speaks for itself. And for those of you who know that you are making a terrible situation even worse. This producer, has since deleted it, their post. But they're going to be in Todd Phillips' other film, Joker, Folie de Fraud, the Duel, October 4th. I just butchered the name of that film, but that Joker sequel. So, it's a lot. And it's crazy because, this is happening right now where, I'm sorry. So Todd Haynes and Todd Phillips are two different directors. I guess there was two Todds. So Todd Phillips directed Joker. Todd Haynes did not direct Joker. Todd Haynes directed a lot of other iconic gay films like Carol. Y'all remember Carol? That's such an iconic film with Cate Blanchett and Rooney Mara. May December, which I loved. Far From Heaven, iconic. Dark Waters, he also directed. He also directed I'm Not There. He loves Cate Blanchett, clearly. The Velvet Underground, Wonderstruck, Poison. He's directed some interesting films in his career. He's 63. He's an iconic gay filmmaker. But clearly, this Joaquin Phoenix film is not, gay romance is not happening now, which is kind of frustrating. And Joaquin Phoenix, a mess. So there's some drama in Hollywood with that. But I also want to talk about real quickly, because the Disney Upfront D23, which is the Disney Upfront of films coming out, I'm so into this. I've seen some exclusive trailers and some previews. Snow White, the live action version, is coming out in, I believe, March of next year. In the spring, it's finally coming out. They withheld it at first, but Rachel Zegler, who was in West Side Story, is playing Snow White. Gal Gadot, who was Wonder Woman, is playing the Evil Queen. The film seems okay. I'm not excited about it, but it doesn't seem bad. I'll just see it when I see it. But there's been a lot of Snow White remakes. I'm kind of Snow White out, but it's cute. We'll see how it do. I wasn't the most excited about it. Now, what I was excited about, Lilo and Stitch is coming out in 2025, next year. Lilo and Stitch is doing a live action version of the film. Something of the sorts. I'm excited about this. Stitch looks incredible. The voice acting on Stitch seems great. I'm kind of confused that they're doing a Lilo and Stitch. I'm kind of don't understand why. I'm not against it though. I really did enjoy Lilo and Stitch as the animated film, but a live action version, I wasn't necessarily like running towards. But we'll see how this plays out. I'm excited. I do like Lilo and Stitch. I grew up off that movie. It's a classic. It's been out for over 20 years. Shockingly, like where has time been? Freakier Friday, 20 years after the original version, coming out next year. Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis is reprising their roles, and the film is coming out next year. Freakier Friday is what it's called. I'm super excited. But the main film I'm excited about is The Lion King. Mufasa, The Lion King. It's called Mufasa, The Lion King. That's the name of the film. I'm into this. I'm getting really into this prequel. And you know what's interesting? Prequels, I typically am not too into prequels because I'm always like, oh, we already know how the story is going to end, so why do we care about the origin story? But this is an interesting origin story. The new preview has revealed some things to us. It tells us that Mufasa, which I'm not telling the movie because, I mean, how could I? But Mufasa basically, it starts out when he's young. We find out that Rafiki is talking to Kiara, who is, of course, Simba's daughter. So not Simba, because Simba's much older, but Kiara is, or Kiara, as they pronounced it in the Lion King 2. So if you remember Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, which is a really great sequel for an anime film, Kiara is, Simba's daughter, and Rafiki is talking to a young Kiara about her grandfather, who she never got to meet, which is Mufasa. And he's telling Kiara this story about the people. So basically, the origin story goes slightly. We don't know all the details, but the origin story is that, Mufasa is an orphan, and he's basically an orphan, and we are finding out how he ended up becoming king of Pride Rock. So he's an orphan that gets found, and he meets a guy, a little cub named Taka, who is a prince, and he is the prince to the king of the Pride Rocks. And Taka is basically Scar. So we find out how Taka becomes Scar. We're going to find out the creative origin story, which I'm fascinated about, because I'm like, ooh, this is interesting. Because we only have heard bits and pieces, but Taka, how we get to the name Taka is that if you ever, a lot of y'all don't know, but like fan fantasy, if you've been following The Lion King from the very beginning, the origins, the fanfare, all the different variations of the film, Taka was the name that they gave the younger Scar. Before Scar became an adult and became known as Scar, Taka was the name of this cub. So Taka and Mufasa, become buddies and bond and everything until they get older. And it becomes a reality where there can only be one king, and there has to be a decision on how that king becomes the king of Pride Rock. So this film kind of tells us how they become brothers, and how they start off as being, pals and growing up, and then they become rivals, and how that foreshadows what ends up happening in The Lion King. It's very interesting. Super fascinating about how this plays out. It is a musical. There will be music. Beyonce returns. And also Blue Ivy Carter returns. I think, and this is my theory, I don't know, but I think that Kiara is Blue Ivy Carter. I think Blue Ivy Carter is going to be playing the voice of Kiara in this prequel. I don't know for a fact. I'm just guessing, but I'm sensing that Blue Ivy Carter is playing the voice of Kiara in this Lion King prequel film. At first, I thought, do we need another Lion King situation? I didn't think we did, but I kind of like this. I'm kind of interested. I'm actually intrigued because I don't know what to expect. I did see the original Lion King live action, preview when it came out, but I'm really excited about this. And I think it's going to be fun. And it's coming out around Christmas, so clearly they're going to make Christmas box office dollars. Like, who is not going to see this? Because Lion King it just sells. It's the 25th anniversary of The Lion King. Like, this year, no, this is the 30th, and oh my God, we're getting old, guys. This year is the 30th anniversary of The Lion King. And we're still hype about it. And we're still making Lion King movies. Like, Lion King, it excites me because it's the one film saga that just keeps on making and making and making. So I'm super excited about it. Love it to death. Cannot wait. And there's also a movie called Tron. We already heard about Tron Ares, which Disney did Tron back in the 80s. They've made various Tron movies, but Nine Inch Nails is producing the score, so Trent Reznor is going to be on it. Sounds good. Okay, with music, several things has been going on. Young Miami did an interview, Carisha Please, season 2, to talk about her relationship with Diddy. I will say that I'm a little emotional about it. Because to a certain extent, I really do. Like, look, Young Miami or Carisha, however you want to say her name, she isn't the most likable person. We all know that. Like, she has her issues. That is a fact. There's no taking that away from her. But you can really tell in this interview, it's only 30 minutes. Saucy Santana interviews her. It's on YouTube. It's a 30-minute interview. But, people will say she didn't say enough. She doesn't say a lot. I think she says enough that I do believe her. I'll say that. I do believe her. So her narrative is that, she was pretty much Diddy's beard. Okay, let me get that right. She was basically, I don't know that, allegedly. I'll say this. She dated Diddy at a time where Diddy was on image repair. So she said, look, I was dating Diddy when he was giving scholarships out. Well, let's be clear. Nobody got that money, sidebar. But she said Diddy was winning awards. He was getting global icon awards. He was living good. He was out here, in the press doing positive things. She was with Diddy during the good ride before the fall. And so she was not the Diddy that we experienced we experienced. But the Diddy that we knew about, that wasn't the Diddy that she knew. That was not her experience with him. And I can believe that because I think what Diddy was trying to do was an image repair. I think Diddy was getting all the awards. He was getting press. He won an MTV award last year. He, got all this great press. He was doing all these moves. But it was obvious that, and I always thought what he was doing was weird. And I don't know if I said it on my podcast a couple times. Remember, I was like, it was just seeming weird, like how all this goodwill behavior was happening. Like, Diddy gave the rights back to his artists. I was like, what? And then he was giving scholarships out. It was this whole love image. So she was dealing with Diddy when he was in what it was called the love era. Like he was, Mr. Love, Brother Love. Like everything was about love and positive. Something was going on. I just kept telling myself, why is he acting like this? I can only think of two things. Either he had something bad to hide or something was going on with his health. Maybe he had cancer. Maybe something happened. Someone died. Something was going on with him where he wanted to change his life around. I just thought there was either two reasons for it. Because it just, for me, just randomly just waking up to be a good person when that's not who you was, just seemed weird to me. Like, Oprah's just been nice. So, Oprah going around giving people cars and shit doesn't surprise me because Oprah gives away a lot on a regular basis. But Diddy just seemed all of a sudden super generous in a way that just did not seem just normal for him. So I just thought either something was just weird. And we couldn't put our finger on it until it all came out. Carisha said she was not involved in any of that. She didn't know anything about all that was going on. She only was experiencing for the good times. And I believe that. I think he was dating her as a way to be in the modern era. I think he was trying to get cool points. She said he was speaking very aspirational to her, very, very positive to her, very spiritual. I believe that. I think that he was trying to be all the things for other people that he couldn't be for anybody else or for his past. So I do believe that. Now, she said that the situation clearly, when everything went down, she broke up with him. She distanced herself. She said, look, that wasn't who I was. I had nothing for him. And you know what? She did the right thing. Cause she ain't no Megan Good out here trying to ride or die for a man that's a hot ass mess. She like, look, I couldn't do that. So she broke up with him. And I respect her for that. Like, good. She could have sat up and made excuses and lied and that. No, she left. That's it. So I had a lot of respect for her on that front. It was very sad or bittersweet to hear her talk about who she is now. She said she's lost her personality around the whole attention around fame, which was kind of sad to hear someone say that. Like, she just like, she feel like she lost her personality. She doesn't feel like herself. Like, she feel like her confidence has been, crappy and everything. And it's just sad hearing someone say, like, she has had her issues, to be very clear. But it's just sad to see someone, just say they feel like they're not who they are anymore. They just feel just disenchanted. She seems depressed. At one point, she talked about having, thoughts of not being here anymore. But she lives for her kid, and so it's a lot going on there. And it was a very vulnerable. There was a very vulnerability to her. I mean, she was emotional. She does take in what the critics say and people say about her online. Um, there's a lot of things, but she's yeah. I mean, you can say poor little rich girl and say woo woo woo, but I did feel that. I did feel a little bit. I did have a little bit of empathy for her. I will say that I did. You know, um, it's sad. She's going through a lot. She's talked a lot of shit, but it is sad to see somebody just feel that defeated in that kind of way. So you know. So this is some interesting news about the music industry. There's a guy named Lucien Grange and his son of Atlantic Music Group. The CEO, Elliot, will control. So his son is the Atlantic Music Group CEO. His name is Elliot. They will now control Universal Music Group. The CEO is Lucien Grange. He has a son from Atlantic, who's Atlantic Music Group CEO. His name is Elliot Grange, their father, son. They will now control over a third of the U.S. recorded music market. So Atlantic Music Group and Universal Music Group, they're owned by a father-son duo that now owns a third of the U.S. recorded music market. Y'all, we're fucked. I say that we're fucked. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to sound like a doomsdayer. That shit is crazy. A third of the music. Let me explain why that is going to be a problem in this industry. They will control the direction of what sells, what moves. They own a third of the music fucking market. That is nothing to sleep on. 1, 2, 3. They own 1/3. Okay, out of every 3 songs, they own 1 out of every 3 songs we listen to on the radio, pretty much. Might own more, but they have an empire, the two of them. And the sad thing about that is that they control the future of music, because what that means is that they get to sign labels, record deals, distribution. They're gonna choose and fund what music gets played on the radio, on the airstreams, what gets sales, what gets amplification. That's serious, y'all. Like, that's crazy. And so what that means is that music trends is gonna be dictated by these dudes. So let's say, for example, there is an interest in if let's say Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter is a banger hit. They might just throw out a bunch of ass espresso songs. So now 1/3 of what you listen to on the radio is going to be an espresso song. Not that that's not a good song. I like espresso. Problem is, I don't know if I want to hear that shit 1 out of every 3 times on the radio. But the way in which they control music, they can dictate the direction easily. They can say, you know what, we're not going to go in hip hop season. We feeling more rock and roll. We don't know. And they get to sign artists. They get to dictate catalogs. It's a monopoly. If you ask me, it's a monopoly. And it's not a good thing for the music industry. It's just not. That's just way too much power. But you know who's sleeping with a good bag? Lionel Richie's daughter, Sophia. Okay. Sophia Richie is married to Elliot. So she done secured the bag over there. Now, her father's Lionel Richie, so she was born into money. But Lionel Richie's daughter is married to Elliot, who is the son. So she's married to the Atlantic Music Group CEO. Okay, so she may not be too mad about this. But maybe she needs to make sure her dad gets in a meeting with him and they help get some advisement on what kind of music we want to listen to, because that's going to be crazy. See how that play out. Just saying. So with TV, I watched a little bit of Olympics. I'm happy that Sha'Carri Richardson has a gold medal. I'm not going to even go too much into this, but whatever the fuck this breakdance thing is, I am willing to bet, like most Americans, that this is going to be discontinued by 2028 in Los Angeles. Like, they're not going to come to the United States breakdancing. I don't know what Lithuania was doing. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what Australia was doing. The women breakdancing. I don't know what that was. The men were a little bit better. But this is a farce. This is just a farce. And at some point, somebody got to step in and just say, this ain't happening. Okay? Shout out to the men and women's basketball, keeping the gold medals in. Thank God the American women got the gold medal, because we didn't want to hear them talk about Caitlin Clark and how she would have won something, child. I'm over it. But the saddest thing is, because it just could not have ended without racism, but it's so sad. Olympic gymnast Jordan Chills stripped of her Olympic bronze medal. What a moment earlier this past week. They said that there was a score inquiry was made in time, and there's video evidence to prove it. That's what the United States gymnasts say. They're pushing back on what happened because the American Gymnast Federation said in a statement on Sunday, which I'm happy about, that new video evidence showed an inquiry was made within the necessary International Gymnastics Federation's deadline to the judges, which resulted in her score change to 0.1 points. So it looks like there might be a chance for her. She moved from 5th place to 3rd place with the score change, which the Romanian gymnast lost her spot on that podium. Now, the reason why this is important is because this is the podium where, you had at silver medal, you had icons, you had incredible icons there that never happened. You never seen 3 black women or 3 black players take over a podium. And now you are about to be in a situation where that might change if they take this medal. But that picture can never be replaced. That picture can never be replaced. And to see Rebecca Andrade, Simone Biles, and Jordan Chills, like nearly a week ago, have that moment, take that picture together with their 3 medals, gold, silver, and bronze, 3 black women doing it. That's never even happened before, where 3 of them dominated like that. That's never happened where 3 black athletes took over an entire podium together. That's never happened. So for Jordan Chills to have her medal taken, that's almost like rewriting history. So hopefully they fix this, and hopefully she gets her medal back. I hope that she do, but it will be messed up if she don't. And then lastly, Love and Hip Hop. I keep praising this show, but it's an incredible show. This season has been fire. And I'm just getting my life. I'm getting my life. I mean, this Kurt Rashida saga, every week I'm at the edge of my seat, like just processing this and just waiting for the other shoe to drop. But it's some good ass TV. And if you're not watching it, you should watch it. Consider it. Catch up. I don't know. If you've been a long time watcher, listen, I promise you can watch this season and catch up. And the other seasons you missed, you won't be too much behind. Just know Stevie J and Jocelyn Hernandez is no longer on the show. They haven't been on the show for seasons on end. Yandy has left New York. She's been on the show for a couple seasons now. Who else? Jock is not messing around with Carly Red. He has a wife that he's close to losing at this point, which is very telling, or not. But this season has been very spicy. And yeah, that's everything. This week, I'm looking forward to the week ahead. I'm back in Philly, going to see what it's giving, preparing for my classes, just preparing for everything that's coming up. This has been a good summer. This has been a wild, wild summer. There's still more to go. Some pool parties on the way. It's not over yet. Listening to my song, Sun Choke, which is my song, by Ali and AJ. I love that song. If you have not heard it, it's a classic. It's a classic for me. It's going diamond in this house, but I don't know where it lands on the real charts. Probably not. But it is a hit to me. So shout out to Sun Choke, okay? Yeah. I feel the heat. I feel the heat. And it's burning, And, listen, Taylor Swift, I wish she would take a stand. But she's 14 weeks at number 1 on Billboard 200. She has defeated Kanye West. Kanye West wanted Vultures 2 to be number one. She was able to unseat him, which I'm happy about. Shout out to her for doing that. She's number one for 14 weeks with this Tortured Poets department. How tortured are these poets, I wonder, but nonetheless. Shout out to Celine Dion for slamming Donald Trump for using her song, My Heart Will Go On from Titanic, at his Montana rally, which is really weird, but also symbolic. Maybe it's a shipwreck coming. Maybe it's a metaphor. She said, really? That song? I mean, it's kind of weird that he was using that song for his campaign, but she has disapproved it, and I'm just really happy that people are speaking out and telling Trump not to use their music. So more of that, please. And as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.